Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Dragon Ball. Infinite Combat Power Enhancement System. Chapter 61. I am Paragus. He is my son Broly. Although Paragus was deeply afraid of Frieza, he had the legendary Super Saiyan son Broly. Even as strong as Frieza was, he could not beat my son Broly. Vegeta and others arrived. Vegeta recognized Paragus and his son Broly. Thinking of Broly's fighting power when he was just born, Vegeta was jealous and envious. But now it's different, I'm Super Vegeta. Broly is a thing of the past. No matter how strong he is, he can't be stronger than me, Super Vegeta. Yo, Paragus, you should really thank my father for expelling you and Broly. Otherwise, you would have been destroyed along with Planet Vegeta. Paragus, Prince Vegeta, it's you. How come King Vegeta's son is still alive? Why don't you just die? Vegeta, what's wrong with me? How did you come to Earth? Paragus, because Broly, I and a group of people behind us want to find a planet suitable for living, and the Earth is a very suitable planet. Earth, ha ha ha, I want Broly to help me rule the entire Earth. Broly on the side looked very docile and had a good temper, like a quiet handsome man. When Broly saw Son Goku coming, Broly was angry. Kakarot, you are Kakarot. Broly glared at Kakarot who had just arrived, and couldn't help wanting to go and beat up Son Goku. Broly, what do you want to do? Calm down. Paragus took out a button and pressed it, and the collar on Broly's neck began to buzz. Sizzle. Quote, Kakarot. Broly hated Kakarot so much that he wanted to beat him up whenever he saw him. Broly, calm down. Paragus increased his strength and finally pulled Broly back from the edge of anger. Sorry everyone, my son has a little problem with his brain. He loses his temper from time to time and calls Kakarot. I'll take Broly to have a rest first. Then, Paragus had someone take the fainted Broly and drive the spaceship out of the park and stop at an open space. Frieza looked at Son Goku and said, Hey Kakarot, does that tall Saiyan just now have any grudge against you? Looking at his angry look, it seems like he wants to eat you alive. Kakarot, I want to eat you alive now, Kakarot. Vegeta, Kakarot, you have a lot of enemies. Kakarot, one day I will surpass you, and then step on you and ravage you severely. Raditz, Kakarot, I feel that the two Saiyans are not here with good intentions. They said they came to live on Earth, I think they want to rule the Earth. Or sell the Earth. Nappa. Hehe Kakarot, Vegeta, Nappa and I used to do this kind of business. I'm sure Paragus and the others are also doing this kind of business. So I suggest to destroy them. Nappa hasn't had a good fight since he was able to become a Super Saiyan. Frieza, Raditz, Nappa, you don't have to guess, because they are in this kind of business. Besides, they can be considered my subordinates. Piccolo, in that case, let's go over and take a look. Krillin, yeah, everyone. I felt that the big guy just now was very wrong. If he is allowed to mess around, the Earth will suffer. Yamcha. Yamcha didn't come, he was playing with his girlfriend. Tien Shinhan and Jiaozi didn't come either, and I don't know where they are traveling. Master Roshi, Oolong, and Pu'er, the three people with low combat power, chose to stay and wait for good news. What else can they do? Then, Sun Wukong and his party flew in the direction of the spaceship that Paragus was riding. On a certain island, Paragus stopped the spaceship here. At this time, Broly regained his composure and became a quiet handsome man. Broly, why do you have such a deep hatred for Kakarot? Also, did you see Kakarot just now? Broly, Kakarot, I hate him. I want him to die. Paragus, Broly, oh Broly, tell me who Kakarot is. Broly, Kakarot is coming. Kakarot, finally, Broly couldn't help but release the violent power in his body. Kakarot, oh no, Sun Wukong is the fuse. Kakarot, Paragus, no. Broly, Paragus quickly took out the button and pressed it frantically, but it was useless. It's over. Broly went crazy, didn't recognize his relatives, and beat everyone he saw. Paragus turned around and ran away in fear. It's all because of this Kakarot. I don't know what Kakarot did to my son to make him so angry. Paragus was flying in the air. He looked to the right and saw Vegeta, Frieza and others. Haha, they came here to die. Once they are all killed by Broly, Broly should stop. Broly has transformed into a green-haired Super Saiyan. His skinny body has now become a muscular body with 8-pack abs. Ha 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 ha. Kakarot. Broly looked at the flying Son Goku and smiled happily. Die, Kakarot. Broly rushed towards Son Goku. His target was very clear. But he was kicked away by Vegeta, who transformed into a Super Saiyan. Pa pa pa. However, Vegeta's kick did not cause any damage to Broly, not even a scratch on his skin. Just Vegeta, get out of here. Broly rushed towards Vegeta and punched him. Vegeta dodged Broly's fist and punched him back. Bang. Broly flew out again and hit the ground, making a hole. Quote, "Ah, his strength is growing fast, right? He's almost surpassing me." Humph. Vegeta refused to accept it. I don't believe that Broly has been suppressing me by dozens of heads since I was born. Ha! Vegeta transformed into Super Saiyan muscle and flew over. Son Goku, Frieza and others watched the fight between Vegeta and Broly. Vegeta, who transformed into Super Vegeta, was extremely confident. He clenched his fists, smiled, and punched Broly, who was full of muscles. Each punch was very powerful, but it hit Broly like hitting a hard object, and it didn't move at all. Vegeta was very surprised and didn't say much. No matter how strong the defense was, it couldn't withstand the continuous blows of Super Vegeta. Ah da da ah, pa pa pa. Broly didn't move at all, his eyes were white, and he smiled ferociously. Hehehehe, Vegeta, are you tickling me? Broly punched Vegeta with his left fist, sending him flying. Vegeta was in great pain and was surprised. Why was Broly so powerful? Wasn't he beaten by me just now? How come now? He punched me and I almost couldn't stand it. Hateful. Ha! Vegeta exploded with energy, releasing it with all his strength. He rushed towards Broly. Broly was emitting green flames, and he laughed, hee hee hee. Garbage. You should be aware of the garbage. The one I want to kill is Kakarot. Not you, Vegeta. Get out of here. Broly also rushed towards Vegeta. He rushed forward and knocked Vegeta away. Vegeta was in disbelief. I am Super Vegeta, Vegeta who has power beyond Super Saiyan. Why can't I beat a mutated Super Saiyan? Are mutated Super Saiyans so powerful? Kakarot, I'm going to kill you. Broly pointed at Sun Wukong, who was watching the battle in the air, and said angrily. Sun Wukong. My name is not Kakarot, my name is Sun Wukong. You got the wrong person. Piccolo, Raditz and others. Good man, you are worthy of being Kakarot. No, you are worthy of being Son Goku. Broly, I will never forget the shape of your head. Kakarot, don't be afraid to admit it. Even if you are not Kakarot, I will kill you. Because you look so much like Kakarot. Ah. Broly got angrier and angrier as he thought about it. He continued to explode and release his power. Then he rushed towards Son Goku. Seeing this, Son Goku used his 10 times Kaioken, increasing his combat power to 30 billion. He stretched out his right hand and blocked Broly with a slap. Broly couldn't believe it. Even Vegeta couldn't block my charge, so why could Kakarot block it easily? Broly, even if you are the legendary Super Saiyan, you are as weak as an ant in front of me. Ha! Sun Wukong used a Chihei cannon to knock Broly away. On the other side, Vegeta was knocked onto a rock by Broly. He was angry and couldn't believe it. Why was Broly so strong? I didn't even have the strength to fight back. Is this the legendary Super Saiyan? He is totally different from the ordinary Super Saiyan. He is too strong. We can only rely on Kakarot. Vegeta was so angry. He has to rely on Kakarot to save himself again. Wait, why did I say again? Vegeta flew out of the rock, flew in front of Piccolo and others, and joined the spectators. Piccolo. With Sun taking action, this guy named Broly will definitely lose. Raditz. Of course, he is my dear brother, Kakarot. Nappa. Although I also want to go up and fight, but that Broly is too strong. To be honest, I can't withstand a single move in front of him. Because even Super Vegeta was defeated in 3 moves. Vegeta gritted his teeth. Nappa. If you can talk, say more. Nappa. Vegeta. I was wrong. Frieza laughed. Ho ho ho, you Saiyans are really interesting. Since Sun Wukong is so powerful, I must practice secretly to become stronger, then defeat Sun Wukong, and then kill all his people in front of Sun Wukong, and finally destroy the earth. Ho 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 ho. It's so exciting just thinking about it. Krillin stared at Frieza and asked, Frieza, what are you thinking about? I feel like you are thinking about some unrealistic ideas. Frieza was sweating and quickly argued, I'm not thinking about anything, don't get me wrong. This stinky bald guy actually dared to peek into my thoughts, he is simply looking for death. I will remember you, when this king gains powerful strength after practice, you will be the first person I will kill. Krillin, really, it's better to be like this. Otherwise, I will tell Wukong and let him deal with you. Frieza. No, 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 my dear Krillin, how could I, Frieza, think of bad things? I have long turned over a new leaf. Reform, what the hell, if it weren't for Kakarot's tyranny, I would have killed you and destroyed the earth. On the battlefield, Sun Wukong unilaterally crushed Broly. Broly had no power to fight back, and could only scream helplessly. Ah, Kakarot, Kakarot ah. Broly went crazy and continued to increase his strength until it reached a point where he could no longer control it. Hehehehe. Broly's combat power reached 25 billion. But he still couldn't fight back and was beaten by Sun Wukong, but it was much better than before. Ah, Sun Wukong discovered this and thought to himself, this Broly is really a monster. If he is not killed directly, he may continue to increase his strength. But, I want him to continue to increase his strength. I don't know how far he can increase it. Don't let me down, Broly. Ah, Broly increased his strength wildly, and his combat power reached 35 billion, surpassing Son Goku's 10 times Kaioken. Son Goku continued to increase the multiple of Kaioken, using 15 times Kaioken to increase his combat power to 45 billion. Broly was still being beaten, and had no power to fight back. Broly was still conscious, and seeing this situation, he was furious. Why is Kakarot, who is just a low-level warrior and has a combat power of only 2 at birth, so strong now? Why is this? Could it be that I, the legendary Super Saiyan, am fake? No, I am the strongest Broly. Broly continued to increase his strength, and his combat power reached 45 billion, the same as Son Goku. The next second, Son Goku's attack had no effect on Broly, and similarly, Broly's attack had no effect on Son Goku. The two fought back and forth, and it was extremely intense. In the spectator seats, only Vegeta could barely see the movements of Son Goku and Broly, and the others could only hear the noises. This Broly, can his strength be increased infinitely? That's too outrageous. Vegeta was impressed by this Broly, but he was even more impressed by Son Goku. Son Goku's strength was also very strong, and he could always suppress Broly. No matter how much Broly's strength was increased, he could always suppress him. Kakarot, how strong is he? I can't imagine it, and I dare not imagine it. Vegeta's heart was broken as if it was hit by a hammer. I, the Saiyan Prince, the superior warrior, Vegeta. Will I never be able to surpass Kakarot in my entire life? No, I won't give up. I must follow Kakarot's footsteps, and I believe that one day I will surpass Kakarot. Raditz. They are so fast, I can't see what they are doing. I only hear the sound of paw paw paw. Nappa. This sound shows that their fighting power is very fierce. I didn't expect Kakarot to be that strong, too strong. Nappa is completely convinced. Nappa used to admit that Kakarot was the strongest, but now he is completely convinced. From now on, he will do whatever Kakarot tells him to do, without any second thoughts. Vegeta. Nappa will surpass him one day, so Nappa and Vegeta are at the same level. Piccolo. So strong. Krillin. Yeah, if Goku's 3 sons come, they may not be able to defeat the monster called Broly. The 3 brothers Gohan, Goku, and Goten are busy with their studies. They are all of school age and have been sent to school by their mothers, skipping kindergarten and going directly to the 1st grade. In a primary school in Exedu. The 3 brothers are really studying hard. Gohan is very interested in learning and has no complaints. Goku and Goten, the 2 pure ones, don't like studying. They want to fight. Ah, I hate studying. Tej, me too. On the island. In the air, Sun Wukong and Broly fought for 5 minutes. Neither of them could control the other. Broly, your power can no longer be increased. Then, we can end this battle. Ha! 20 times Kaioken. Sun Wukong's fighting power instantly reached 60 billion. He slapped Broly with his backhand. Broly was broken and his right cheek was slapped with a burning pain. Ah, Kakarot. Broly continued to increase his power, reaching 55 billion, but he was still 5 billion behind Son Goku. So he continued to be abused, and Broly doubted his life. Bang bang bang. Da da da. Sun Wukong went up and down, left and right, hitting Broly hard. Broly was beaten and screamed, and was very angry. He wanted to increase his strength, but he didn't have the chance. Broly, is this all you can do? Can you continue to increase your strength? If you can't, you can go to hell. Broly, ah. Bang. Broly, you can still improve, right? If I can improve further, I will transform into a Super Saiyan and fight you. To be honest, this was the most exciting time for Sun Wukong. The last time he fought Frieza, it was not interesting at all. Broly, ah. Angry. Broly was extremely angry, so angry that he was about to explode. The next second, 2 lightning bolts emerged from Broly's green aura, running around the aura. And Broly's combat power exceeded 100 billion, reaching 110 billion. Sun Wukong laughed excitedly. Haha, this is really nice. Ha! Son Goku transformed into a Super Saiyan, with a combat power of 150 billion. Broly found that Son Goku's power surpassed his own again, and his mentality was about to collapse. Am I the legendary Super Saiyan, or is he Kakarot the legendary Super Saiyan? What is the reverse Tien Gang? Didn't I, Broly, kill Kakarot? Why is he killing me instead? Kakarot, quote, ah. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Da da da. Boom. Broly was hit by Son Goku's rock plate 10 times. The legendary Super Saiyan Broly shed tears. Woo woo woo. Kakarot. Broly lost his will to fight. He didn't want to fight with Son Goku anymore, because if he continued to fight, he didn't know how powerful Son Goku would become. Broly exited the legendary Super Saiyan state and turned back into a quiet handsome man with black hair. Kakarot, stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. Woo woo woo. Broly remembered when he was a child, he was disturbed by Son Goku's crying and started crying too. It was so embarrassing. Broly, I want to ask you, why do you have such a great hatred for me? What did I do to you? Broly, because you disturbed me when you were a child, your crying made me very irritated. It made me very angry. So I swear, I will make you pay the price. Sun Wukong. So you? Broly. Yes, but, you won, I lost. I couldn't defeat you even if I turned into that horrible appearance. You won very thoroughly. Sun Wukong. Broly, you don't look like someone who gets angry easily. Your tone and the way you look show that you are a gentle person. Broly didn't understand what Sun Wukong was saying. Kakarot, what on earth do you want to do? Kill me, then kill me. Anyway, I have despaired of this world. Sun Wukong. When did I say I would kill you? I meant for you to join us. Together with Vegeta, Raditz, Nappa and Piccolo, let's protect this earth. Likewise, I will help you fully master the violent power in your body. In this way, you will not be controlled by that power. Broly was silent for a while, and looked to the west. His father was watching over there. Sun Wukong knew what Broly was looking at, and said, "Are you looking at your father? I believe your father will agree. And this thing on your neck, I will help you take it off." Sun Wukong crushed the necklace on Broly's neck with his right hand. Broly was completely free from restraints. "Thank you. Kakarot, I will join you." Sun Wukong smiled. So far, another powerful fighting force has joined the Z Warriors group and become the first person under Sun Wukong. Vegeta can only be furious. My second place was replaced by Broly. No, I want to surpass Broly and take back my place, otherwise, the gap between me and Kakarot will only get bigger and bigger. It was November 3, 760 AI. Trunks was supposed to play for 2 or 3 days, but everyone kept talking to him and he played for a few more days. During these few days, the super genius Bulma built a time machine with enough fuel. Trunks was very impressed. She was worthy of being his mother. She was so talented. Today was the day Trunks was leaving. Everyone gathered together to say goodbye to Trunks. "Mom, see you later." And, "Dad." Trunks glanced at Vegeta who was leaning against an old man. "I'm sorry, Dad, I can't call you in this time and space. If I do, there will be trouble." Vegeta noticed Trunks's gaze and also looked at Trunks. The more he looked at him, the more he looked like his own son. Could it be that Trunks was the son of himself and Bulma in another time and space? Otherwise, why do I think he looks like my own son the more I look at him? It must be like this. Then, this Kakarot, he actually stole my wife and my son. How abominable. Kakarot, one day I will beat you up to relieve my hatred. Gohan, Krang, Piccolo, Yamcha. Goodbye everyone. Trunks entered the time machine, and after a series of operations, the time machine floated into the air and disappeared with a swish. Sun Wukong said to Bulma, Bulma, is there any problem with the time machine you made? I want to try it. Bulma, I am a genius scientist. There is absolutely no problem with what I make. Besides, you don't have to worry about insufficient fuel. I put enough spare fuel in it for 10 round trips. Sun Wukong, that's it. Then, Sun Wukong entered the newest time machine, and after a series of operations, he left this time and space and went to another time and space. When Vegeta and others saw Sun Wukong leave, they went back to practice and play. Vegeta called Broly and went into the gravity room with him to practice in battle. After 300 rounds of fighting, Vegeta was panting and covered with injuries. Broly was a little injured but not much. Vegeta, are you okay? I used very little force just now. Sun Wukong told him to be calm, never lose his temper, and be gentle to everyone and everything. So Broly was polite, gentle and smiling. Vegeta was so angry when he saw Broly like that he wanted to vomit blood. What the hell is this monster? Too strong. However, in his hands, I will definitely become stronger. I'm fine, go on. Okay. Broly knew that he would not give up until Vegeta was completely defeated. In a future time and space, 2 androids beat up a young man with a broken hand. The young man with a broken hand had no choice but to grit his teeth and endure it. His name is Son Gohan, and he is the lonely guardian of this time and space. He lost his father, mother, and uncles when he was young, and faced 2 powerful androids alone. No one taught him how to practice, so he relied on himself to become a Super Saiyan and kept fighting against the androids, hoping to destroy them one day and bring peace to the world. However, he couldn't win at all. The androids were too strong, he could barely deal with 1, but couldn't win with 2 at all. Bang! Son Gohan was knocked to the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. Puff! Father, mother, Uncle Piccolo, and everyone, all come to see you soon. Gohan, don't give up the fight. If you give up fighting, you will never win. A voice that was very familiar to Son Gohan sounded in his ears. Son Gohan was full of energy, bursting with arrogance, and his eyes were burning with flames. Father, you were right. I must not fall down. Android, you will never be able to defeat me. Even if I only have 1 head left, I will bite you to pieces. Ah, Son Gohan thought that his father Son Goku's voice just now was an auditory hallucination, but it wasn't. Son Goku was right behind Son Gohan. Android 17 and Android 18 were shocked to see Son Goku. Wasn't he dead? How could he still be alive? Android 17. Haha, although I don't know why you, Son Goku, didn't die, but since you didn't die, I will let you die again. Android 18. The doctor's order to us is to kill Son Goku. Now is the time to complete this order. Android 17, let's go together. Son Gohan heard the words of Android 17 and Android 18 and turned back abruptly. He saw that it was his father. And he was still a living father. Dad, you are not dead. Son Wukong. I am not dead, but I am not from this time and space. I came from another time and space to save you in this time and space. Son Wuhan nodded. I see, Dad, thank you. Son Wuhan knew that Bulma had been researching the time machine, and it seemed that the research was successful. Otherwise, his father from another time and space would not come here. Gohan, let's destroy the androids together. To avenge me and Chi-Chi and the others here. Okay, Dad. Then, the father and son went into battle together. With the help of Son Wukong, they easily captured the 2 androids. Finally, under the attack of the father and son, the 2 androids were completely destroyed. And the green-skinned monster hiding in the dark, it was Cell. Seeing the android he had been thinking about being destroyed, he was furious. Why did Son Wukong come here too? After much difficulty, we found Android 17 and Android 18, but they were destroyed by Son Goku. This Cell also came here in a time machine. As for what time and space he came from, unknown. The time machine only has enough fuel for one round trip, I can't fail. Cell sneaked away, returned to his time machine, went to another new time and space, absorbed Android 17 and Android 18, became a complete body, and then stole another time machine and returned to the time and space that made him angry. In his complete form, he appeared in front of Sun Wukong and others, shocking them and scaring them. Gohan, you are very weak now. I will take you to the Spirit Time Chamber to become stronger. Spirit Time Room. Son Gohan didn't know the Spirit Time Room. Spiritual Time House, where 1 year is equal to 1 day in the outside world. I see, there is such a convenient house. Let's go. Okay, Dad. Son Goku took Son Gohan into the spiritual time chamber he carried with him and began to practice for a year. With Son Gohan's talent, he can definitely become a Super Saiyan 2 in a year. Even if Cell appears at that time, Son Gohan can still kill him. Sha Fan guessed correctly, this was exactly what the monster was thinking. The reincarnation of the ghosts can continue to increase the strength of the seal under the hot spring hotel, making Otakemaru unable to escape for so many years. It's like the forbidden technique of Izanami in Naruto, which makes a person keep repeating a fragment and fall into the illusion. The reincarnation of the ghosts day after day is equivalent to a certain rule, suppressing everything in the underground seal. Even if a monster really finds the underground sealed room and breaks the spell, it will be restored to its original state after nightfall and the arrival of the ghosts. These are the rules discovered by monsters who have been sneaking in the past few years, which is why so many monsters have appeared here. Finally, after gathering more than 100 monsters, they took advantage of the night of 100 demons and launched the night parade of 100 demons to come to this hot spring hotel. Stop, you can't go in, this is not a place for you monsters. Kiwei blocked the door and shouted, you can't stop us. The monsters separated to the sides, and a monster came out, Daitengu. What do you want to do? Chi Wei looked solemn. Let the general see the light of day again. Da Tiango raised his hands and said loudly, it's you. You attracted all these monsters. Nanai instantly understood why there were so many monsters here. Back then, after Otakemaru was sealed here, the first owner drove away and slaughtered all the monsters nearby, making this place a forbidden area. As time passed, other monsters were born here, such as the Snow Woman and the Nekomata. And Shutenduji, who came later, occupied the mountain next door and became the king. He gathered a group of small monsters and ruled the area. However, Shutenduji, the Snow Woman, the Nekomata and other monsters did not know that another big monster was sealed in the underground of this hot spring hotel. The monster, Otakemaru. Even Nanai only knew the secrets here after she took over as the new owner. As a guardian and caretaker, Nene's job is very easy, because no monsters will come here to disturb her. However, in recent years, there have always been monsters sneaking into the hot spring hotel, but fortunately, Nene's strength is still good. She can either repel them or kill them, and continue to maintain the peace of the hotel. But Nanai did not expect that there was someone controlling everything behind the scenes. And the person who is controlling it is undoubtedly the Tengu in front of him named General Otakemaru. Are you Otakemaru's subordinate? Nanai blurted out. That's right, I am the soldier who followed the general to attack Sakano Tamuramaro. The general was deceived by the beauty of Suzuka Gozen and lost his 2 swords, which led to his defeat and death. He turned into a monster out of resentment, but was sealed away. And I, for revenge. To save the general, I refused to eat and died in anger, and finally turned into an evil ghost, a yaksha, and a monster. So, don't even think about stopping us. Da Tengu said, and suddenly pulled out the long sword from his waist, and slashed at Kiwei fiercely. The sword energy turned into a long rainbow, slashing towards Kiwei. Kiwi's pupils turned into vertical pupils, her nails became longer, her white hair spread out, and she stretched out 2 black cat tails. She stepped on the ground and disappeared on the spot, avoiding the sword energy. Useless. Swish, swish, swish. The cold sword light followed the black shadow, leaving traces. When the sword light ended, Kiwei fell on a stone, with a corner of her clothes cut off, but she was not injured. Kiwei was now half human and half demon, crawling on the ground, growling at Da Tengu. Da Tengu said nothing and flashed in front of Kiwei. Facing the sharp sword blade, Kiwei could only dodge, but Tengu was obviously stronger than Kiwei. In less than a moment, Tengu found an opportunity and kicked Kiwei in the abdomen, kicking her far away, flying directly out of the hot spring hotel and landing in the vast snow. Are you going to kill her? Tamamaname looked at her and asked. No, go in. Utengu sheathed his sword and led many monsters into the hot spring hotel. After entering, they each looked for a ghost to replace their actions, such as taking a hot spring bath, eating, or resting in the room. Even the original employees in the hotel were replaced by monsters, welcoming guests and cooking in the kitchen. Tamamaname walked to the counter and lazily replaced Nene's work. As for Utengu, he walked all the way into the depths of the hotel and found the way to the underground sealed room. When he arrived at the door, he knelt on one knee. General, just wait a little longer, it will be ready soon. Cough cough. Nanai climbed up from the snow, spit out a few mouthfuls of blood, and looked at the hot spring hotel in the distance, which was still bustling and seemed to have not changed at all. This is over. The thing Kiwei was most worried about finally happened. Don't be so pessimistic. Sha Fan's voice appeared behind Chi Wei. Chi Wei turned around suddenly and saw Sha Fan, Shui Nu, and Xiao Shuang. Grandma Kiwei, we are back, meow. Xiao Shuang waved happily. Didn't you leave? Chi Wei asked in surprise. Yes, I went. I just went to the Snow Girl's house and stayed there for 2 days. I saw such a spectacular scene. Wow, 100 demons parade at night. It's really rare to see it. You saw it all. I see. Are you okay? It's okay, I just got a little hurt. But I can't complete my mission. Kiwei looked unhappy. What are you afraid of? Otake will come out if he wants. You know. Chi Wei looked at Sha Fan in shock. She had never told Sha Fan anything about the seal. Yes, it was the princess who told me. And they have been planning for this day for several years. Sha Fan explained. Princess, it's her. Kiwei immediately remembered the bad scenes she saw in the hot spring bath. Wait, you already knew it, why didn't you tell me? Chi Wei suddenly became angry and even showed her fangs. However, the princess only knows that they are planning to release Otake, but she doesn't know the specific situation. How can I tell you? Besides, even if I tell you, isn't it too late? Can you handle so many monsters by yourself? Sha Fan spread his hands. That should also allow me to be mentally prepared. Chi Wei sighed. Sha Fan was right. Even if Sha Fan told her, it was too late. This plan had been planned for several years. It was not something she could accomplish. Not to mention the more than 100 monsters, even the great Tengu, she couldn't beat it. What should I do now? Otake is coming out. Why are you so afraid of Otake coming out? Sha Fan was very confused. Although Otake was a great demon and had the title of Demon King, in Sha Fan's opinion, his strength was at most a little stronger than Shudenduji, right? He shouldn't be that scary to Nanai. Since you know Otake, you should also know his abilities. Well, he has the power to control black clouds, storms, lightning, rain of fire, and can also control demons. That's right, Otake can control other monsters. Nanai nodded. The reason why he was sealed was to prevent him from controlling other demons, entering the human world, and attacking and retaliating against humans. Now, all the demons are here. Once Otake is unsealed, he will become the king of all demons and command all demons. I don't know what kind of damage he will cause at that time. Kiwei was worried and blamed herself. In that case, we can just wait for him to come out and kill him. Sha Fan said, how much trouble can this cause? It's just a monster. Who here can be his opponent? You. Even if you can, what about the other 100 monsters? Although the more than 100 monsters are uneven and have different strengths, if they attack together, they are enough to hold Sha Fan back, so Chi Wei is not optimistic. You should leave here quickly while Otake is still trapped. Nanai Grandma meow. Me, I can't leave. Kiwei touched Xiao Shuang's head. She was ready to sacrifice. Let's take a look first. Sha Fan couldn't leave. I hope you won't regret it later. In the hot spring hotel, with the entry of hundreds of ghosts, the ghosts began to behave abnormally. After their original positions were replaced by the monsters, they fell into a state of downtime, wandering around the hotel aimlessly and unconsciously. After the ghosts behaved abnormally, it was like a well-edited program, with garbled characters appearing, and the system began to crash. Sha Fan and the others stood in the snow, watching the entire hot spring hotel begin to flash white light, as if there was a short circuit in the circuit. The lights flickered, and after several consecutive times, there was a click, and something broke. The candles in the hot spring hotel automatically went out, and the ghost lights outside the door sizzled a few times and disappeared into the air. The hotel fell into darkness. The seal is loose, and Otake is coming out. Nene's face turned slightly pale, and she clenched her fist subconsciously. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. In the dark hotel, the ghosts suddenly stopped and stood still. After a few seconds, they exploded one after another, turning into pieces of light and flew out. From the outside, it looked like fireworks were set off in the hotel, and now they suddenly exploded. Countless light points floated out from the windows, doors, and cracks in the houses and flew into the sky. This scene was particularly beautiful in such a dark night. So beautiful, it is indeed very beautiful. Sha Fan nodded in agreement. The monsters lit up the extinguished candles again, and rushed out of the hotel together, gathering in the small square in front of the gate, waiting quietly. General, you can finally come out. Da Tengu, who had been kneeling on one knee on the ground for a long time, stood up after noticing the changes above. He approached the gate covered with talismans, lowered his waist, bent his knees slightly, grasped the hilt with his right hand, and suddenly pulled out the long sword. Da Tengu held the long sword upright, chanted an inexplicable spell, and drove the demonic power in his body. With a hiss, the blade was covered with a layer of green flames. Da Tengu no longer hesitated and swung the samurai sword at the gate. The sharp sword energy penetrated through the talismans and penetrated deeply into the gate. The weird green demonic fire burst out from the sword marks, came out and began to light the talisman. This time, the seal of the door could never be restored as the ghost above disappeared. As the talisman burned out, a seal appeared on the door. Da Tengu sheathed his sword, walked forward, and pressed his hands on the seal. Suddenly, white smoke came out of Da Tengu's hands. It was an exorcism spell. Da Tengu endured the pain and continued to push the door regardless. Boom! The stone door made a loud noise, and was slowly pushed open with Da Tengu's full effort. Finally, the candlelight outside shone into the dark room, illuminating the dark shadows inside. Otake, who was over 2 meters tall, had a burly body and 2 horns on his head, appeared in front of Daitengu. General, I finally see you. Da Tengu knelt on the ground, crying with joy. Shofang, thank you for your hard work. Otake voice was loud and clear. Even though he was still tied up with chains, it couldn't cover up his extraordinary demeanor. General, I found your 3 lost swords. The great Tengu named Hidetoshi took out a wooden box from his back and opened it respectfully. It was the 3 bright swords, the divine sword that protected Otake. The 3 bright swords sensed Otake presence, and they flew up automatically, circling around Otake. General, there are 120 monsters outside, waiting for your command. I got it. Dadanglian, Shoutonglian, Shanminglian. Otake shouted the name of his sword. The sword received the order, turned in the air, and chopped at the iron chains that tied Otake one by one. The iron chains fell to the ground with a heavy sound. Free at last. Roar! Otake raised his head and roared to the sky. The surging demonic power turned into a beam of light, passing through the ground, through the roof of the hotel, and straight into the sky. This demonic power came out. Chi Wei couldn't help but tremble, looking at the beam of light rising into the sky, her eyes full of fear. Shui Nu and Xiao Shuang did the same, and quickly hid behind Sha Fan, poking their heads out from behind his shoulders, carefully looking over there. Is this the sealed demon? How come he is not on the same level as Shudenduji? Sha Fan's face was a little solemn. After comparing Shudenduji with Otake in front of him, he found that Shudenduji was beaten into dregs by Otake in terms of both momentum and demonic power. Run now while you can still run. He Wei urged again. Lord Sha Fan, should we hide away? Get out of the way, meow. Shui Nu and Xiao Shuang were very scared. Don't worry, it will be fine, Shui Nu, you and Xiao Shuang go back first. Sha Fan said, ignoring Shui Nu's refusal, and sent them back to the small world directly. In order to prevent them from worrying too much. Where are they going? Chi Wei looked at Sha Fan in surprise. Well, I'm home. Forget about that, he's out. Sha Fan pointed in the direction of the hotel. Hiwei turned around and saw a black shadow jumping high into the air. Otakemaru's figure was particularly conspicuous in the beam of light. Bang! Otakemaru landed suddenly and crushed the entire ground. His powerful aura made the monsters in front of him retreat several steps involuntarily. Only Tamamaname, who was wearing a mask, could still compete with him. Jiao Li Jiao. Nine-tailed demon fox, fragments of Tamamaname. It turns out that you are in trouble just like me. Otakemaru saw through Tamamaname's true intentions. That's why I came to help the general out of trouble. Tamamaname said in a clear voice. You want me to help you find the other fragments? To restore your true form? Sure, surrender to me. And you too. Otakemaru roared at the monsters in front of him. The demonic power turned into a huge pressure, sweeping everything around. Except for Tamamaname, who still insisted on standing, all the other monsters knelt on the ground. Even Sha Fan and Nanahui felt the strong pressure. Seeing that Nanahui was about to fall to the ground due to injury, Sha Fan took a step forward to block the pressure. Ha, there are actually humans here. Otakemaru glanced and saw Sha Fan and the others. He didn't mind Tamamaname's disrespect to him. Although Tamamaname was just a fragment now, her original body was a great demon that was as powerful as him. You, go and bring a stool for this general. You guys, go and capture that human and that little demon for me. Otakemaru ordered. Shofang, tell me what happened after I was sealed. Yes, General, now we can't leave. Sha Fan, you'd better take care of yourself. Chi Wei was ready to fight the monsters rushing towards her. Don't worry, let me do it. Sha Fan took out the rebellion blade, put it on his shoulder, and walked over with a smile. The killing has begun. At this moment, Sha Fan looked like a hero in Kiwi's eyes. Humans who resist monsters. Tamamaname looked at the fearless Sha Fan, and didn't know what he remembered, and his smile was a little nostalgic. Catch him. Great, great, great. Just a human. In order to show off, the monsters all rushed towards Sha Fan, and some even wanted to jump over Sha Fan and catch Chi Wei. After all, in their opinion, a human is just a human. How can he turn the world upside down? You look down on me so much. I'm really sad. Sha Fan's originally slow pace suddenly changed, and his body disappeared on the spot. The sword blade was as cold as light, drawing a crescent moon in the air. A little demon running hurriedly had not reacted before his body was broken into two halves, and even ran a few steps before suddenly falling to the ground. Roar, kill. The monsters didn't care about the death of their companions. Instead, the smell of blood further stimulated their monster nature, making them unconsciously start to become monsters. Sha Fan smiled slightly, and easily harvested the lives of the monsters among the monsters. These monsters can either spit fire or spit water. Occasionally, there are some plant-like monsters that can barely create vines to try to restrict Sha Fan's movements. But compared to the wood escape of Senju Hashirama, this ability is pitifully weak. It's not as good as those monsters that can create poisonous fog. Even though the monsters have all kinds of abilities, they can't hit Sha Fan at all. Instead, as long as Sha Fan gets close to them and hits them with a sword, they will lose their lives. Kiwei was stunned at the extraordinary heroic posture of Sha Fan, who was killing in and out of the monsters, and lost his mind. It turns out that Sha Fan is really so powerful. He didn't lie to me. Maybe Sha Fan can really deal with Otakemaru. Kiwei couldn't help but look forward to it. The sword. Shofang looked at the sword in Sha Fan's hand and couldn't help thinking. What's wrong? Do you know him? Tamamaname stood quietly beside Shofang and asked. I saw extraordinary sword marks near where Shutendoji died. Shofang recalled. Could he be the Onmyoji? Tamamaname exclaimed. Onmyoji. Otakemaru paused in drinking and turned his head. General, that's it. Shofang recounted how he went to find Shutendoji and tried to recruit him into the group, as well as how he found traces of Onmyoji in a small village at the foot of the mountain. HMPH. Onmyoji. Otakemaru gnashed his teeth. The one who sealed him here was a hateful Onmyoji. Similarly, the one who sealed Tamamaname and broke her into pieces was also an Onmyoji. It can be said that they, the monsters, are born to be at odds with Onmyojis. Shofang, all of you go. Catch this yin-yang master for me. His body smells good, he must be delicious. Dayumaru sat on a chair, drinking and eating meat, recovering the demonic power that was lost because of the seal. If this place wasn't really deserted, Shofeng would have gone to catch people to feed Dayumaru. After all, the places where humans still exist nearby have either been destroyed by Shutenduji, or the place where Shofan passed by was burned down by Kodoko. Therefore, Shofeng could only use animals as a substitute so that Dayumaru, who had just escaped, could have a good meal. After receiving the order, Shofeng, Tamamaname and other monsters all went out. Shofan had just killed the last monster in the first batch that came to catch him. Are you going to mobilize so many troops? Shofan stood there, waiting for them to come over. Did you kill Shutendoji? Shofeng came over and asked directly. Yes, he wanted to eat me. Shofan nodded in agreement. Did you build the village at the foot of the mountain? Which one are you referring to? What is that? Shufeng was puzzled. I didn't kill the people in the village, but I buried them. Shofan said that he didn't want to take the blame for what Shinzi did. Did you also perform the exorcism spell above? Tamamaname asked. It's me. Shofan glanced at Tamamaname. He just heard what Otake said. Now Tamamaname is just a fragment. According to Shofan's understanding of Tamamaname, the fragment should be the killing stone. How did it become like this? Or did the killing stone break into pieces and also split Tamamaname into several pieces? Why are you looking at me? Tamamaname said with a smile. It looks good, Shofan said bluntly. He, then you have to watch it for a while longer, after all, you won't be able to see it later. Let's not do it. It's hard for me to take action against such a beauty. How about you follow me and I'll help you find the fragments? Otake is unreliable. Shofan suggested to Tamamaname. Oh, can you beat the general? Tamamaname's eyebrows moved under the mask, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. It's not difficult, Shofan said honestly. How dare you? A mere human dare to defy the general. You are courting death. Shufeng was furious, and suddenly drew out his samurai sword and slashed at Shofan. Clang! The samurai sword and the rebellious blade made a crisp sound in the air, and a spark burst out. Then, Shufeng continued to slash at Shofan without stopping. Shofan could feel the huge force transmitted from Shufeng's sword, which was almost better than Shutenduji. The battle between the two made the surrounding sword energy fly and the snowflakes roll back, making it difficult for other monsters to intervene. Go catch that cat demon. A demon noticed Kiwei standing aside. His proposal instantly attracted the attention of other demons, and they all rushed over. Kiwei was shocked by the demon's murderous intent and wanted to turn around and run away. Shofan noticed the situation on her side, and activated his superpower. The rebellious blade carried a tremendous force and collided with the samurai sword. Crack! Shofeng sensed the danger as soon as the samurai sword in his hand collided with Shofan's rebellious blade, but it was too late for him to stop. The rebellious blade cut off the samurai sword and flashed past Shofeng's neck. I'm sorry, the situation doesn't allow me to continue playing, Shofan said, and his body flashed and disappeared. Then, not far away, the screams of the monsters were heard again. Shofeng stood there, wanting to take a look at Otake, but he could no longer do it. General! Bang! Shofeng fell on his back. Tamamaname stood aside, watching the scene quietly, thinking about the gains and losses in his heart. Bang! Hidetoshi! Dayumaru noticed that Hidetoshi's breath disappeared, and he stood up suddenly, smashed the big bowl in his hand to the ground, and his breath surged. Shofeng! On Myoji! Roar! Dayumaru didn't wait any longer. After an angry roar, he stepped on the ground with his right foot and rushed towards Shofan. Shofan's expression was stern, and his telekinesis suddenly started, condensing a protective shield. Boom! The earth shook. A huge fist slammed into the protective shield, and a violent wind was set off. The surrounding snow rolled, and all the monsters were blown away. Within a few meters, it became clean. Dayumaru condensed his demonic power and kept smashing down on Shofan with great anger. Shofan's entire body was smashed into the ground along with the protective shield by Dayumaru's powerful demonic power. Until Shofan could no longer be seen, Dayumaru stopped his action with a gasp. Dead, dead, he should be dead, right? Of course. The general is mighty. The general is mighty. The monsters who didn't know what was going on thought that Sha Fan was killed by Otakemaru, and they cheered. "Shut up," Otakemaru roared, telling the monsters to shut up. After all, Otakemaru knew that he had just vented his anger and did not cause any harm to Sha Fan at all. As expected, a figure rushed out from the ground. Sha Fan floated in the air and looked down. It feels really good. This kind of experience of being hit directly into the ground was really the first time for Sha Fan. His head was almost dizzy. "Don't be complacent. I will definitely kill you." "Okay, then come on." 3 bright swords, Otakemaru shouted, and 3 swords flew out automatically, circling around Otakemaru. Sha Fan landed on the ground, thought for a while, and suddenly activated the black magic that he had never used since he got it. Black magic. Demon summoning, 0/3. As the magic was used, 3 magic circles appeared around Fan. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. The magic circle appeared with bursts of thick smoke and boiling magma with the smell of sulfur. Under the gaze of everyone, 3 hell demons with goat horns on their heads and flames all over their bodies emerged from the magic circle. "You are indeed an onmyoji. What kind of shikigami is this? Why does it feel darker than our Yukai's aura?" Ghosts, demons. The monsters looked at the hell demons and kept exclaiming. Otakemaru's face was also a little heavy. The smell emanating from these 3 shikigami was not demonic power. This thick dark aura was very similar to the demons in the legend that existed in hell. So, Sha Fan, the yin-yang master, used demons as shikigami. Are the yin-yang masters so powerful now? "I am Otakemaru, the Devil King." Otakemaru roared at the devil. "Don't be nervous, this isn't meant to be used against you." Quote. Otakemaru's momentum was frozen. Also, who the hell is nervous? Explain clearly. Sha Fan moved his mind and drove the 3 demons to rush towards the monsters who were still alive. Tamamaname looked at the monsters in chaos, and his body suddenly turned into a flame and quietly floated away. "Come on, let's continue." HMPH. Otakemaru snorted coldly, and the 3 swords automatically attacked Sha Fan. At the same time, he gathered his demonic power and summoned a large black cloud, which gradually pressed down. Moreover, lightning flashed from time to time in the black clouds. Sha Fan held the rebellious blade to resist the attack of the 3 swords. At this moment, there was a loud bang, a white light flashed in Sha Fan's eyes, and a bolt of lightning struck beside him. "Good fellow, you even used magic." Sha Fan retreated again and again, dodging the lightning that kept falling. Sha Fan was a little envious of this. Although he had acquired magic, he didn't seem to have such a powerful attack skill. Blood magic could be used as a group attack, but it was still slightly lacking in strength. It was very convenient to use it to bully weaklings. Ha, ha, Otakemaru used such a powerful ability, which consumed a lot of his demonic power. However, after the attack, Sha Fan was still alive and kicking in front of him, which made Otakemaru very angry. But at the same time, he was helpless because his demonic power was really insufficient. Otakemaru was still very weak after just breaking the seal. At this time, he should find a place to recover his demonic power. But after he came out, he saw a group of weak monsters and a human, so he naturally did not take them seriously. Until Shofang capsized at the hands of Sha Fan. But even at this time, Otakemaru did not think that Sha Fan would be his opponent. As a result, he miscalculated again. His originally limited demonic power was almost exhausted after a battle with Sha Fan. If he did not replenish it, he was afraid that he would really die at the hands of this human. In this case, Otakemaru looked fiercely at the little demons around him who were still trying to escape from the 3 demons. "Come here," Dayumaru roared, and used his remaining demonic power to grab a little demon out of thin air, then opened his mouth and bit it, swallowing it. Quote. Quote. This scene was even more terrifying than when Sha Fan just chopped one of his companions with his sword. Otakemaru was actually going to eat them. Now, the monsters that were still fighting with the demons but had not escaped could no longer sit still. They no longer cared about the demons or the generals and just turned around and left. Especially those weak monsters, they even wished they had 2 more legs. After all, in just this moment of distraction, 2 monsters entered Otakemaru's stomach. Otakemaru felt the recovery of his demon power and couldn't help laughing, and immediately sped up his movements. Sha Fan, who was far away, was stunned by Otakemaru's move. Wait, this is not right, he ate them all, what should I do? I wanted to use them for sacrifice. Sha Fan suddenly realized that he ate my food. Blood magic. Sha Fan was too lazy to play with the 3 swords, so he used telekinesis to deflect them, and at the same time, he launched blood magic, aiming at the monsters that kept fleeing. Then, his thoughts covered the surrounding area of 100 meters, and all the dead monsters on the ground were collected into the small world. In addition, he rushed towards Otakemaru and stopped his action. Sorry, I can't give you these monsters. The red blood drops turned into countless blood arrows, piercing into the chests of all the monsters and began to devour their blood. In just a few seconds, groups of monsters fell to the ground. At this point, more than 100 monsters were all dead, and Sha Fan collected them one by one into the small world. What did you do? Da Yuan noticed the disappearing monster's body and asked Sha Fan. He was sure that there was no one else who could do this except Sha Fan. You will know soon. Sha Fan retreated and distanced himself from Otakemaru. Otakemaru didn't know what Sha Fan was up to, so he didn't dare to attack easily. Sacrifice. Sha Fan sacrificed all the monsters that he had collected in the small world. The sacrifice was successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the 1000-year demon power and are the king of all demons. The sacrifice was successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the magical power, ever-changing. King of 100 demons. He commands the demon clan and is a natural king. He can summon hundreds of demons and launch a night parade of demons. Magical power. Changeable. Can change into any desired appearance at will, including but not limited to various objects, monsters, supernatural creatures, humans, etc. After accepting the reward, Sha Fan exuded a temperament that made all the demons submit. And the 1000-year-old demonic power turned into a surging air wave, which lifted everything around it, dispersed the black clouds in the sky above, and revealed a white moon. Otakemaru half-crouched on the ground, resisting the strong wind. As for Nanai, she had been blown away by the wind and could not be seen. When the wind and waves subsided, Otakemaru looked up and was immediately in disbelief. Sha Fan no longer needed to rely on telekinesis to float in the air. Moreover, there were several pure white flames floating around him, which were demonic fires formed by demonic power. Sha Fan stood in the moonlight, shrouded in a layer of faint fluorescence, like a god. Otakemaru looked at Sha Fan, and his heart couldn't help but want to surrender and worship. You, how could it be? Aren't you a human? Aren't you an Onmyoji? Otakemaru shouted. He couldn't imagine that the demonic power of a human Onmyoji could actually crush more than 10 of him. Moreover, his aura that made people want to surrender made him feel as if he had seen the king. The king among monsters, the demon king. But isn't he? He is called the demon king of ghosts and gods. Ah, no matter who you are, I won't kneel to you. Da Yuan still had some strength, and he resisted the urge in his heart, stood up, and resisted Sha Fan. It doesn't matter, you're going to die anyway. By the way, you have seen the night parade of 100 demons, right? Sha Fan said, closing his eyes slightly, using the ability he had just acquired, summoning 100 demons, and launching the night parade of 100 demons. Suddenly, one demon after another lined up in 4 rows and appeared beside Sha Fan, from illusion to reality. The so-called night parade of 100 demons actually has no specific number. It may be exactly 100, or 120, 200, and so on, and the number of demons that appear each time may be different. Sha Fan drove the demons towards Otakemaru. How possible? Have you really become the demon king? 100 million. Kill him. Sha Fan pointed at Otakemaru, and all the ghosts turned into evil spirits, pounced on Otakemaru and started to bite him. Go away. Otakemaru wielded the Sanming sword and killed the monsters that rushed over. The monsters that were chopped turned into white fragments and disappeared. I am the demon king. Boom. Lightning fell around Otakemaru, clearing an area for him. Fortunately, he had just recovered some of his power by swallowing some monsters, and he could continue to control lightning and storms to deal with the monsters' attacks on him. However, there were still some fish that escaped Otakemaru's attack, pounced on him, and began to bite him. Ah! Dayumaru cried out in pain. He finally felt the pain of the little demons he had devoured. Get out of here! Otakemaru was like a madman, tearing off the monsters biting him. But he was at the end of his rope. If he could stop one, what about 10 or 100? The 100 ghosts summoned by Sha Fan were not really just 100 monsters. So, Otakemaru was drowned by the monsters. Screams continued to sound from the monsters, and the pain was heartbreaking. As that Otakemaru, Nanai finally ran back and saw this subversive scene. I've said it before, just wait for him to come out and kill him, there's nothing to worry about. Sha Fan said it very naturally. You. Chi Wei turned to look at Sha Fan, and her knees almost went weak as she was about to kneel down to Sha Fan. This was too horrible. What did Sha Fan do just now? Why did he change so much? Chi Wei didn't even dare to get close to Sha Fan, for fear of being burned by the thick demonic power around him that seemed to be real. It was simply unbelievable. Sha Fan, a human, actually became the pinnacle of the monsters and the king. Even an Onmyoji couldn't do this. Well, it's almost done. Sha Fan felt that Otakemaru's breath was getting very weak and he was about to die. Sha Fan cancelled the night parade of 100 demons, and the monsters surrounding Otakemaru disappeared out of thin air. Hiwei was shocked. He can actually command hundreds of ghosts. Has Sha Fan become a ghost god? That's not right, weren't all the monsters killed by Sha Fan just now? Chi Wei was puzzled and couldn't imagine what powerful abilities Sha Fan possessed. At 24, Sha Fan slowly floated in front of Otakemaru. At this moment, Otakemaru was lying on the ground, dying, with scars all over his body, no longer as majestic and domineering as he was at the beginning. I lost again. Otakemaru looked at the night sky, and recalled the only major defeat in his life. That time, he lost his protective sword, which allowed his opponent to succeed and kill him. But what about this time? Apart from the fact that his demon power was slightly insufficient, he was really fighting the enemy with all means. In the end, he didn't even hurt the opponent, and even allowed the opponent to improve his strength in front of him without knowing why, and evolved into a demon king. Could it be that he really couldn't win just once? Otakemaru was disheartened. Tisk tisk, your spirit is gone, and you are just a walking corpse even if you are alive. Sha Fan shook his head slightly, condensed his demonic power, and turned it into a glowing white sword, which he inserted into Otakemaru's chest, sending him off for the last time. Sacrifice. The sacrifice was successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the body of a ghost and the power of a ghost. The body of ghosts and gods. Indestructible. Powers of ghosts and gods. 1. Control of celestial phenomena, ocean currents, tsunamis, ice and snow, wind, rain, thunder and lightning. 2. Great dark sky, summons the night and plunges the world into extreme darkness. 3. Gate of hell, can control hell and summon hell ghosts, demons, and other hell creatures. 4. King of 100 demons, rules the demon race, is a natural king, can summon 100 ghosts and launch 100 ghosts night parade. 5. Magical powers. Ever-changing, can be transformed into any desired appearance at will, including but not limited to various objects, animals, humans, monsters, supernatural creatures, etc. 6. Blood of ghosts and gods can evolve, enhance, and heal, including but not limited to animals, humans, supernatural creatures, etc. 7. Power of gods will emit the breath of gods all the time, suppressing all living things around. Can be actively released and closed. Big deal. Sha Fan was shocked by Otakemaru's explosion rate. Wow, a body of a ghost. Ghost power. He advanced from a human to the king of 100 demons, and then to a god. Body of a ghost. Sha Fan could feel that the 1,100 years of demon power in his body began to transform into ghost power, or divine power for short, at the same time as his body transformed. Moreover, Sha Fan also noticed that the bronze skin and iron bones, super strength, super healing, super speed, and super senses he had previously obtained were all integrated with the new power, indestructible and indestructible. As for the T+ super perfect virus, the enhancement to his body was almost negligible. After merging with the body of the ghost god, he only retained the single skill of telekinesis. In addition, Sha Fan saw that the king of 100 demons and his ever-changing magical powers that he had just obtained were now integrated into the power of the ghost god. Probably because the authority of the ghost god was higher than that of the king of 100 demons, they were automatically unified and integrated. The blood of the ancestors also evolved and upgraded to the blood of the ghost god. It is not only effective for supernatural creatures, but now it also has the effect of enhancing, evolving, and healing general animals, humans and other creatures. At this point, Sha Fan's personal attribute panel has undergone new changes. Name: Sha Fan. Lifespan: Immortality. Race: Ghost. Current world: Japanese horror world. Open world: Resident Evil, Underworld, Silent Hill. Enabled functions: time travel, unlimited storage, sacrifice return. Abilities acquired: Ghost body, indestructible, unparalleled divine power. Ghost power: control of celestial phenomena, great dark sky, gate of hell, king of 100 demons, ever-changing, blood of ghosts, power of gods. Telekinesis, mind control, blood magic, devil wings. Black magic: devil summoning, 0/3 dark swallowing, magic mirror world, rebellious blade, holy light magic, barrier, holy light protection. Master painting ability, soul purification technique, Shikigami technique, Shikigami Shudenduji, 4 soul jade, purple gold gourd, immortal sword, wine god curse. Sha Fan looked at his ghost power and controlled the celestial phenomena. Sha Fan raised his head and looked at the night sky. Suddenly, a strong wind rolled up in the sky, bringing dark clouds and blocking the moon again. As far as the mind goes, the sea of clouds rolled, the storm raged, and the natural disaster came. Wherever you look, there are magnificent thunder roars, lightning and thunder, destroying everything. Hiwei looked up and trembled at the sudden change in the sky. Monsters are afraid of thunder and lightning, so they rarely go out when it rains. Only a few monsters, 1 in a million, have the power to control thunder and lightning, such as Otakemaru. But isn't Otakemaru dead? Hiwei saw Sha Fan kill Otakemaru with her own eyes, and even destroyed his body. But why did the sky change so drastically? It can't be that another big monster has come. Wait, big monster. Hiwei suddenly reacted. Isn't there a demon king who is more powerful than the big monster? Could it be that Sha Fan was responsible for these changes? Boom! A bolt of lightning struck a tree on the mountain, igniting a fire. Crash! Rain began to fall from the sky, and the heavy rain extinguished the forest fire and washed away the various bloodstains that had just been left on the ground. A vacuum appeared around Sha Fan, and the rain could not fall in. Hiwei hurriedly moved closer. Sha Fan also noticed that many animals in the forest were desperately running away, as if they had sensed a deadly danger and wanted to stay away from this area. On other nearby mountains, accompanied by the roar of the sky, all the animals on the mountain either hid in caves, or underground, or buried their heads in their tails, fearing that they would be struck by lightning if they were unlucky. Behind a stone, a green flame trembled slightly and revealed its shape. Tamamaname looked at the man standing in the air under the lightning and rain in fear. This man actually possessed the power of ghosts and gods. The changes in the celestial phenomena he controlled were even more powerful than Otakemaru. He was the devil king of ghosts and gods. What's the difference between Otakemaru and other little demons in front of him? There's no comparison at all. Tamamaname suddenly remembered what Sha Fan had said to her before. Maybe he can really help me find the rest of the fragments. Sha Fan tested his power, controlling the celestial phenomena, and the heavy rain stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and the sky was restored. Sha Fan put away his divine power, extinguished the divine fire hovering around him, and then gently fell to the ground. Okay, it's done. Sha Fan stretched his body easily. Of course, the battle tonight did not take much effort for him. Not only was it easy, but the harvest was also richer, beyond expectations. To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. Sha Fan. Sir. Chi-Wei felt the powerful pressure from Sha Fan, and the natural suppression of all monsters by the King of Monsters, which made Chi-Wei no longer dare to look at Sha Fan the same way as before. Sha Fan put away the pressure from the gods, which made Chi-Wei feel better. As for the suppression brought by the King of Monsters, there was nothing she could do. What are you going to do next? Hiwei asked. Of course, leave here. Otakemaru has been dealt with. You can stay in the hot spring hotel with peace of mind. Sha Fan followed the original plan and left the mountain to see the human world in this world. Thank you very much for this time. If it weren't for you, Otakemaru would have been rampant here and dominated other monsters. Those little monsters would have had a hard time, and I'm afraid I wouldn't have survived. Kiwei was very glad that Sha Fan stayed, so that she didn't suffer a miserable fate. She was old and just wanted to spend her old age in peace. It's late today, why don't you go back to the hotel to rest for a night and leave tomorrow? Kiwei suggested. Okay, Sha Fan thought it was feasible. Oh, I almost forgot about these 3 swords. Sha Fan noticed that Otakemaru's 3 body-protecting swords were still quietly staying where Otakemaru disappeared. These 3 swords are very good, they can protect the master and can also attack automatically. However, Sha Fan seems unable to control them freely. In this case, sacrifice. The sacrifice was successful. Congratulations to the host. You have obtained the Demon Slayer sword and the full-level sword controlling technique. Not bad. Sha Fan was very satisfied, especially the sword control technique. Flying in the sky, the mountains and rivers are thousands of miles away in an instant. When Sha Fan was a child, his favorite TV series was The Legend of Sword and Fairy. He dreamed of flying with a sword like Li Xiaoyao and roaming the world freely. Now he can realize his wish. A big hole was smashed in the hot spring hotel by Otakemaru. If you look down, you can see the deep underground, and if you look up, you can see the full moon in the sky. Fortunately, the room where Otakemaru is sealed is not under the hot spring, otherwise, a hot spring pool would be wasted. Sha Fan leaned in the comfortable hot spring pool and called out the cold princess. This time, Sha Fan asked the noble princess to rub his back and massage his shoulders. As soon as the princess came out, she was shocked by Sha Fan's aura. It was only 2 or 3 days since they last saw each other, but Sha Fan's strength became even more powerful and frightened the monsters. The princess naturally would not resist Sha Fan. She jumped into the hot spring water with a cold face and rubbed Sha Fan's back. Sha Fan saw the wet clothes on her body, which highlighted her graceful body, and he couldn't help but pull her into his arms. Remember this place? Well, I remember. The princess's face turned red, and although she didn't show much expression, she looked more red than before. This change was already very big. Sha Fan remembered the princess's reluctant expression at that time, and started to move his hands. In the corridor in the middle of the hotel, Nanai sighed and was picking up the broken wood and tiles that fell from the roof when Otakemaru smashed through it. But to be honest, after this incident, Nanai can finally relax completely and enter a retirement life. She no longer has to worry about monsters coming to her place to destroy her with ulterior motives. She can now go fishing in the creek in front of her every day when she has nothing to do, or raise other cats. Xiao Shuang is leaving, and no one is talking for a while. Xiao Shuang is very stupid and likes to eat fish very much, but she is very lively. Although Kiwei always has a cold face, she actually likes this junior very much. As a fellow cat, Kiwei naturally hopes that Xiao Shuang will live a better life. Fortunately, Sha Fan is a good candidate for entrusting. When Kiwei was thinking about this, suddenly, she heard some voices faintly. What's that noise? Is there a monster coming? Kiwei stood up and walked towards the place where the sound came from. As a result, she felt something was wrong. This voice, it's you again. Kiwei was so angry. You are so good, Sha Fan. You just want to take a hot spring bath, but you do that kind of thing. Don't you know that she can't stand this kind of stimulation? Kiwei was so angry that she didn't even pack her things and walked away quickly. Sha Fan put on a bathrobe, took the princess's hand, went back to the room and lay down together, ready to go to sleep. As for Xuan and Xiao Shuang, let them continue to stay in the small world tonight. Sha Fan has already told them that Otakemaru has been dealt with, so they can rest assured. Besides, isn't there still the princess warming the bed? It's good. It was 3 or 4 in the morning, when people were most sleepy. A flame floated silently into the hotel and came to Sha Fan's room on the 2nd floor. The flame squeezed in through the crack in the door. Surprisingly, it did not cause any damage to the wooden crack in the door, as if the flame had no temperature. The flame floated in the air and silently turned into a woman. It was Tamamaname, who had hidden early when she saw the situation was not good. Tamamaname floated in the air and looked at Sha Fan's face. Really beautiful, as expected of a demon god. Tamamaname thought to herself. Have you seen enough? Sha Fan opened his eyes. Tamamaname was startled and quickly retreated, leaning against the wall. My lord. The princess woke up and looked at Tamamaname. It's okay. Sha Fan reassured the princess. What are you doing here? Didn't you run away? At that time, Sha Fan was still wondering where Tamamaname had gone. It was not until the end of the battle that Sha Fan had to admit that foxes were really cunning, especially old foxes like Tamamaname who had lived for a long time. I have come to seek refuge with you, my lord. Will you take me in as a homeless girl? Tamamaname knelt on the ground, supporting herself with her hands, and looked at Sha Fan pitifully. You're homeless, aren't you going to look for scraps? Yes, but as a monster, it is difficult for me to get the fragments back from the onmyoji of the human world. Besides, my current strength is not even as good as that cat demon outside. At most, I am better at escaping. Tamamaname explained her situation. Sha Fan finally understood. No wonder Tamamaname cooperated with the Big Tengu to unlock Otakemaru. It turned out that he wanted to use Otakemaru to enter the human world and take back his other fragments. It was not to deal with other monsters. If you want to follow me, you must at least take practical action. Sha Fan said. Then, how about I, a humble lady, serve His Excellency in bed with her like this beauty? Chapter 71. Sha Fan said, there is such a good thing. It actually came to my door. But, what happened to you? Why did you break into pieces? Sha Fan was very confused. Sha Fan remembered that Tamamaname was first seen through by the famous onmyoji Abe Yasuchika, and then she changed back to her original form and flew into the sky to escape. Yasuchika used the magic of the magic mirror to knock her down on the desolate wilderness of Nasu. Then Tamamaname was surrounded by the army and eventually killed. It is said that after Tamamaname died, her body turned into a killing stone. Finally, a monk named Xuanwang, the abbot of a temple, successfully destroyed the killing stone, and the destroyed killing stone flew everywhere. Sha Fan told Tamamaname what he had learned. I didn't expect that adults understand me so well. Tamamaname covered her mouth and chuckled. Basically, the story is similar to what the adults said. I am the biggest piece of the killing stone. By chance, I merged with the body of a dead witch and restored my true body. It can be said that I am now a reincarnated Tamamaname. So, I need to gather other fragments to restore my demonic power. Tamamaname said as she took off half of the mask on her face. Sha Fan didn't know what Tamamaname looked like in the past, but the Tamamaname sitting in front of him now looked like a girl. The girl had red lips and white teeth, eyebrows like a crescent moon, and long hair like a waterfall. Her eyes were crystal clear, shining, and bright. The girl should have been pure and elegant, innocent, and in her prime. But in the end, the girl's temperament was charming, and enchanting. Her eyes were charming and affectionate, and she even wore clothes that saved fabrics, and you could see the exquisite white collarbone, and a pair of straight and smooth long legs can be seen below. A girl's body, a mature soul. Isn't this possession? However, this combination of an angel and a devil is full of a unique charm. Just like the cold princess beside Sha Fan prefers the kind of reluctance to welcome, wanting but not wanting, and suppressing emotions compared to the princess's noble indifference. This makes Sha Fan have an urge to destroy and conquer. So, Sha Fan accepted Tamamaname. Aren't they just fragments? As long as they are still in this world, Sha Fan can help Tamamaname find them. Please be merciful to me. Tamamaname blushed. In the morning, the sky was bright. Sha Fan walked out of the hotel. Lord Sha Fan, I wish you good luck in martial arts. Chi Wei bowed to Sha Fan and wished him a happy and prosperous military career. Well, goodbye. Sha Fan took out the Demon Slayer sword, stepped on it, used the sword control technique, and turned into a sword light and rushed into the sky. It's really amazing. Lord Sha Fan's name will surely be passed down through the ages. Chi Wei looked at the clear and clean sky with admiration on her face. Under the sun, the land was full of vitality. Because of the departure of the snow girl, the white snow here lost its magical power and began to melt. I believe that by next spring, this place will definitely return to its green and lively appearance. By then, there will be many small animals coming here. The only thing we don't know is when new monsters will be born here. After all, the monsters gathered around were killed by Sha Fan, and this place has become a forbidden area again. No matter what, let's repair the house first. Kiwei lit up her pipe, exhaled a puff of white smoke, turned around and walked into the hotel. In the sky, above the white clouds, Sha Fan stood on the Demon Slayer sword and pulled Xiao Shuang out. It was a long journey, but it was more interesting for Xiao Shuang to follow along. It's out, meow. As soon as Xiao Shuang came out, she happily threw herself into Sha Fan's arms, then looked around. What is this, meow? Xiao Shuang looked at the white clouds floating by and reached out to grab them, but he caught nothing. It's clouds. Xiao Shuang was confused, then looked down. Meow. Xiao Shuang, who was in the sky for the first time, was so scared that she turned back to her original form and buried her head in Sha Fan's chest. Although Xiao Shuang, as a monster, often ran around in the mountains, she had seen cliffs, deep valleys, and raging waterfalls. But the feeling of not being able to see the mountains at all and having no ground under her feet really scared Xiao Shuang. It's okay. I'm here, don't be afraid. Sha Fan sat down, patted the little black cat, and comforted it softly. So scared, the little black cat still didn't dare to look up. Be good, the scenery outside is beautiful, I'm holding you. Really? Xiao Shuang raised her head slightly and looked up. Although she was still scared, thanks to Sha Fan's embrace, Xiao Shuang plucked up the courage to look. Slowly, Xiao Shuang adapted and turned into a girl. Sha Fan held her and she sat on the sword, looking at the scenery below. Wow! Xiao Shuang raised her hands and shouted excitedly while blowing the wind. Sha Fan flew across the mountains, jungles, plains, and seas, and finally arrived at the modern society where humans live. No wonder there are so few people in the mountains. It's like an island separated from human society by a sea. Sha Fan was speechless. The island that Sha Fan left was very large, a bit like the King Kong Skull Island, isolated from humans, and inhabited by various monsters and animals. Although Sha Fan saw some people on the outskirts of the island, Sha Fan guessed that they were most likely shipwrecked and drifted here unintentionally. As for the inner part of the island, it is a completely primitive ecology and has not been discovered. Only monsters can enter and exit freely. Sha Fan didn't know how all these monsters could live on this island in this world, but it should be related to the onmyoji mentioned by the monsters. For example, the sealed Otake and the broken Tamamoname. Only they may still remember where the human world is. Otherwise, Tamamoname would not want to return to the human world to look for fragments. As for the other little monsters, such as Nanai and Yukiona, they have never left the mountains and may not even know that this is an island. Sha Fan did not land directly after seeing the humans, but stopped only after finding Kyoto based on similar memories. Xiao Shuang, can't you tuck your ears and tail away? Sha Fan sensed it and found that it seemed to be the 1990s. Compared to the 20, 21, and 22 years later, if you, a girl, walked on the street with a pair of cat ears and two tails, you might attract the attention of the police and the fear of the people. Instead of just treating you as a beautiful girl who likes to cosplay as a cat girl. I can't put it away, meow. Xiao Shuang touched his ears, saying that his demon power was too low to do it. So, if that's the case, Sha Fan condensed a drop of his own ghost blood and wanted to let Xiao Shuang swallow it to see if it could increase Xiao Shuang's demonic power, allowing her to transform freely and retract the characteristics of a demon. It smells so good. Little Shuang's eyes turned into vertical pupils, his little tiger teeth were exposed, his saliva was flowing down, and he stared at the blood droplet closely. Open your mouth. Meow. Xiao Shuang opened her mouth and swallowed the blood drop that Sha Fan had shot over. The blood of the ghosts and gods has a stronger power than the blood of the ancestors, and it also has divine power. For example, after Elena and Saren swallowed the blood of the ancestors several times in a row, the effect of their evolution and improvement became weaker and weaker, even negligible. For them, Sha Fan's blood was only delicious. But if they were given a drop of upgraded blood of the ghosts and gods now, Elena and Saren would evolve again, and might even directly reach the level of Dracula, the ancestor of vampires. At that time, Elena and Saren would not only have physical attacks and fight with claws, but would have some other superpowers. For example, hypnosis, wall penetration, body atomization, etc. Especially for the weaker the target, the more obvious the improvement of the blood of the ghosts and gods. Just like Xiao Shuang at this time. The original Xiao Shuang was a cat with only 2 tails. After getting Sha Fan with the blessing of the blood of the devil, she upgraded directly and grew 3 new tails. Xiao Shuang became a 5-tailed cat, evolving towards the legendary 9-tailed cat. This is not the point. The point is that Xiao Shuang originally looked like a 3-0 loli, with nothing but cuteness. As a result, after growing 3 new tails and increasing her demonic power, the girl's body also grew up. Sha Fan could see with his naked eyes that Xiao Shuang's hair grew longer, her body stretched taller, her chest bulged, and increased from B to D, becoming heavy. The short kimono that fit Xiao Shuang just right before seemed to have turned into a bath towel at this moment. It could only just cover the buds on the chest and the position of the abdomen. Sha Fan felt his throat was a little dry. The effect of the blood of the devil was too good, it directly turned Xiao Shuang into another person. In addition to the previous beauty effect, there is now an additional breast enhancement effect. Grown-up meow. Xiao Shuang was very surprised and jumped into Sha Fan's arms, wrapping her legs around Sha Fan's waist, just like before. Well, Xiao Shuang has grown up physically, but her IQ doesn't seem to have increased much. Also, Xiao Shuang has become heavier, and her lowly girl voice has also matured now. To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. Well, go back to the small world and change clothes first, I will call you out later. Sha Fan directly transferred Xiao Shuang away. He was worried that if Xiao Shuang stayed any longer, Sha Fan would not be able to resist eating her. It was really terrible. Inside the small world. Xiao Shuang. The snow girl looked at the plump and beautiful girl who suddenly appeared in her snow house, a little hesitant. The face still looked like Xiao Shuang, but the body. How could it suddenly change so much? Is this still the Xiao Shuang she knew? Big sister meow. It's really Xiao Shuang. How come you've grown up? The snow girl was surprised and shocked. Your ears are gone, your tail is gone, and your demonic powers have increased. It was Brother Sha Fan, meow. Brother Sha Fan made me swallow a drop of blood, and then I became like this, meow. I see. But, there doesn't have to be such a big change, right? The snow girl also swallowed Sha Fan's blood. Although her demonic power has also increased a lot, it is still not enough compared to Xiao Shuang. Just comparing the demonic power of the two, the snow girl is no match for Xiao Shuang. And, this is too amazing. The snow girl looked at Xiao Shuang's bulging chest, then looked down at herself. Well, this can't compare to it. Big sister, do you have any extra clothes? Meow. Don't call me big sister, you are older than me. The snow girl was a little envious and turned around to look for clothes. If Lord Sha Fan gave me another drop of blood, I wonder if I can. The snow girl rubbed her chest, feeling a little bit of anticipation. Snow girl, Xiao Shuang, come out and play. It was Alessa. Although the snow girl and the princess had only moved in a few days ago, there were not many people in this small world. Elena and Saren were not here yet, which made Alessa very bored. Just when they came in, Alessa happily made friends with them. Even though the snow girl and the princess were relatively quiet, they couldn't stand Alessa talking non-stop. Fortunately, there was Xiao Shuang, who became familiar with Alessa in one night. Who are you? Alessa ran into the igloo and saw a woman wrapped in a black cloth. This figure, I'm afraid it's comparable to those 2 annoying vampires. Alessa couldn't help but frown, as if she was facing a great enemy. After seeing the change in Xiao Shuang, Alessa automatically recalled the scene of herself being insulted by those 2 vampires. Alessa, I am Xiao Shuang. Xiao Shuang ran over and hugged Alessa. Before, Xiao Shuang was only about a head taller than Alessa, so Alessa felt that she had met a good friend and they had fun. Now that Xiao Shuang has grown up, he is 2 heads taller than Alessa. As a result, before Alessa could react, she was hugged by Xiao Shuang, who loved hugs, and had a facial massage with cleanser. You are a little, Alicia struggled desperately, waving her hands, feeling insulted again. Woohoo, her friend was gone. Alicia cried inwardly. She finally met a good friend who was not much different in height, personality, and age, but after knowing each other for only a few days, she turned into an adult. This made Alicia unhappy and depressed. How did you become like this? Alicia asked with a cold face and a melancholy tone. It's Brother Sha Fan, meow. Xiao Shuang recounted to Alicia what he had just experienced outside. What? After hearing this, Alicia jumped up instantly. This is not fair. What's wrong? Meow. Xiao Shuang scratched his head in confusion, and subconsciously wanted to move his ears, only to realize that his ears had been folded up. Xiao Shuang shook his head, and the two cat ears immediately popped out. Xiao Shuang moved happily. Well, it's still comfortable this way. I have also swallowed Brother Sha Fan's blood, but I haven't changed as much as you have. Alessa was very unwilling. Everyone in the small world was an adult, and she was the only child. The two vampires often bullied her. No, I want to grow up too. Alicia clenched her fist to encourage herself. Xiao Shuang, when will Brother Sha Fan come in? I don't know, meow, I'll go out soon, meow. Xiao Shuang replied. Please help me tell Brother Sha Fan that I want to grow up too. Alessa took Xiao Shuang's hand and said seriously. Good meow. Xiao Shuang, what do you think of this dress? The snow girl came over with a dress of a similar style to the one Xiao Shuang wore before, but in white. This is the dress that the snow girl herself wore. I like meow, Xiao Shuang said as she was about to change clothes in front of the two of them. Xiao Shuang, go in and change. Shui Nu's face was a little red. After all, Xiao Shuang is not a child anymore. It was fine before, but now, Xiao Shuang's figure is too foul. Shui Nu is embarrassed to look at it. Oh, Xiao Shuang was obedient and went in to change her clothes. Big sister, some little cats. It's not too small, it looks quite suitable. The snow girl looked it up and down, it was quite good, there was nothing wrong with it. It's a little tight here. Xiao Shuang pointed to his chest. Quote. Snow girl is speechless. Outside, Sha Fan was walking on the street, wandering aimlessly. He bought a newspaper to read the latest news. Passing by a milk tea shop, Sha Fan saw many students going in. Out of curiosity, he followed them in and ordered a cup of milk tea. Then he sat on a chair, drinking milk tea while reading the newspaper. Not long after, a few more people came into the milk tea shop. A woman, a man carrying a camera, and a man with a recording device. Reporters, interviews. Sha Fan looked at them curiously and paid attention. At the same time, Sha Fan noticed the news in the newspaper and raised his eyebrows slightly. He found something interesting. So this is the real horror world plot. I thought there were only monsters. Sha Fan almost helped Tomomonome find the fragments and then left. After talking to the clerk, the elegant woman in a beige suit walked up to a few students who were chatting. After some discussion, they agreed to be filmed and interviewed. The man set up the camera, and another colleague turned on the recording device and raised the microphone. After everything was ready, the woman began the interview. That videotape has become a hot topic recently. Do you know about that videotape? Yes, I have heard of it. The student nodded. I heard that after watching the video, a scary woman will appear and tell you that you will die in a week. They also said that when you were watching TV programs late at night, a phone call would come in. The female student sitting in the middle told what she knew. Which channel's late night show is this? I heard it was Izu TV. Izu. Did someone really die a week after watching the video? Asakawa Reiko asked again. I don't know any. The girl in the middle said confidently. Only the student on the left nodded hesitantly. Asakawa noticed her hesitation and looked at her with a smile. You know what, right? It was a senior from school who told me that the girl who watched the video and her boyfriend died. Is it an accident? Well, 2 people were in the parked car. The newspaper also reported 2 days ago. Then, Asakawa asked some other questions and ended the interview. After they left, Sha Fan put down the newspaper. Videotape. Sadako. Sha Fan had never thought that in addition to monsters, there would be supernatural events like Sadako in this world. Listening to their interviews, Sha Fan could tell that the Sadako videotape incident had happened a long time ago. And that reporter should be Asakawa Reiko. After several people died in succession because of the videotape incident, Asakawa paid attention to this incident and wanted to investigate the truth behind it. As a result, during the investigation, she was also entangled by Sadako because she watched the videotape. If she couldn't find the secret of the videotape within 7 days, Asakawa would die. Things are getting more and more interesting. It seems that as long as we follow Asakawa, we can find the videotape, and then just wait for Sadako to appear. Sha Fan got up and left the milk tea shop. Then, Sha Fan found a hotel and checked in temporarily. Because he didn't have the money and identity card of this era, Sha Fan directly controlled the clerk with his mind and checked in smoothly. Just like in the milk tea shop, he got a free cup of milk tea. As for Asakawa, Sha Fan had memorized her voice and could find her at any time. Before the night fell, Sha Fan brought Tomomonime out. Oh, Lord Sha Fan's little world is so lively. I didn't expect that in addition to the snow girl, there is also a kitten, a princess, and a, little girl. Tomomonime has never seen the existence of Alessa, the incarnation of darkness, so she couldn't call out her identity. But this also proves that Sha Fan's strength is far more than what Tomomonime knows. At least, even if Sha Fan did not advance in the battle with Otakemaru and turned into a demon king, Otakemaru would not be Sha Fan's opponent. This small world is the proof. In Tomomonimi's mind, this kind of small world that can be entered and exited freely and even have other creatures can only be done by true gods. Perhaps, this small world is the kingdom of God of Lord Sha Fan. Tomomonime thought secretly in his heart. You know all of them. So quickly, Sha Fan was a little surprised at Tomomonimi's ability to make friends. Yes, but the snow girl and the princess are really cold. Xiao Shuang and Alessa are still cute. They are all talking about you, sir, right now. Tomomonime said with a smile. Me, Sha Fan's consciousness entered the small world, sensing what was happening inside. Then he became speechless. Alessa, this little ghost, was stimulated by Xiao Shuang's sudden growth, so she actually wanted to grow up. And she grew up not for anything else, but to take revenge on Elena and Saren. Sha Fan couldn't help laughing. He said that even if you grow up, I will not release the restrictions on your abilities, at most I will just expand her space. If Alessa can't defeat Elena and Saren in her Silent Hill world, then she will never be able to climb over their heads in this life. But it's better this way, the female ghost will learn her lesson if she is taught a lesson. The small world will also be more lively. We have now entered the human world. Can you sense where the other fragments of yourself are? I'll try. Tomomonime closed his eyes and silently activated his demonic power to sense. Well, no. Tomomonime opened her eyes in disappointment. Not enough distance. Yes, at least there are none around here. So do you have any solution? The killing stone is poisonous and anyone who touches it will die, so the chances of finding fragments of it being found in areas where there are no people are higher. Of course, if there is a powerful Onmyoji, he might seal the fragments so that I can't feel them. Tomomonime frowned. What she was most worried about was that the fragments were sealed. Don't worry, you have plenty of time anyway, just take your time to look for it. Sha Fan comforted her. Then, my lord, please protect me. I am unarmed now. If I am encountered by the Yin-Yang Master or those annoying monks, they will not show mercy to me and will only beat me up or seal me. Tomomonime leaned in Sha Fan's arms, raised her little face, and looked very charming. Don't worry, I'm here, no one can hurt you. Sha Fan scratched Tomomonimi's little nose. Come to think of it, can't you turn into a fox now? Sha Fan asked curiously. No, my body was originally the body of a shrine maiden, and now I can only use a little bit of my demonic power. If I want to become the true body of a nine-tailed fox, I need to collect all the other fragments. How many fragments are left? 8. Oh, 1 piece and 1 tail, right? Yes, sir. It seems that this will take some time. Sha Fan planned to go to the library and look for a map to see which places were rarely visited or had experienced abnormalities. This way, he would have a specific direction. Soon, night fell. Asakawa rushed home after work. Because she had to attend a funeral today. It was her son Yoichi's cousin, Tomoko, who suddenly fell ill and died, and Asakawa had to go there. Sha Fan heard Asakawa's voice and found her location. At the door of Tomoko's house, many of her classmates, teachers, and relatives gathered. Sha Fan activated mind control, passed in front of them, and walked into the house. Ever since Sha Fan obtained the body of a ghost, advanced to a ghost, and his spirit was sublimated, his mind control has become like Marvel's X granted telepathy. As long as he is within the coverage of Sha Fan's mind, he can control others at will, read memories, and even modify memories. Therefore, no one can find Sha Fan. Sha Fan went upstairs as if no one was there, and came to Tomoko's room. Well, there's no videotape here. Alas, it was all because I was afraid to watch this movie at the time, so I only remember scattered fragments. The Ring, as a benchmark in horror movies. In his previous life, Sha Fan didn't dare to watch it alone, especially at night. Therefore, he also watched it with his roommates in the dormitory. There were many scary scenes in the middle, and Sha Fan simply avoided them. As a result, Sha Fan only remembered the general outline of the plot and could not remember the details. Fortunately, Asakawa is the key person, so he just needs to continue to follow her. After Sha Fan failed to find the videotape, he was about to leave. Suddenly, he glanced and saw the photo of Tomoko on the cabinet. Immediately, an invisible spiritual force invaded Sha Fan's mind. Sha Fan heard a girl's voice, and she told Sha Fan to go watch the videotape. Is it the remnant of Chico? Or is it Sadako's spiritual power attack? Sha Fan used his spiritual power slightly to destroy the invading spirit. Fortunately, it was Sha Fan. If it were someone else, after being invaded by this power, they would be unconsciously and constantly have psychological hints, follow the guidance of the voice, and watch the videotape involuntarily. Thus, Sadako continued to kill people. This is also one of the ways Sadako spread the videotape. It's a bit dangerous. Sha Fan thought about it and cast a holy light spell on the photo to dispel the spiritual residue on it. There is no harvest today, let's go to the library. Fan said, turned around and went downstairs, and just in time saw a little boy walking up. Sha Fan recalled, the heroine Asakawa seemed to have a son, right? Unsure, Sha Fan scanned the little boy's memory and got confirmation. He was Asakawa's son, named Yoichi, who had a good relationship with Tomoko before and often played together. Sha Fan didn't pay much attention and left. Yoichi didn't notice Sha Fan either, walked into Tomoko's room, looked up and saw Tomoko's photo. Yoichi felt as if Tomoko was looking at him, and stood there blankly. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. In the photo, Tomoko's eyes flashed slightly, and the resentment that should have been purified by Sha Fan's holy light technique once again quietly emerged and invaded Yoichi's mind. Yongyi. Asakawa went upstairs and found Yongyi. Don't enter other people's rooms casually. Go down quickly. Asakawa looked at the situation in the room and pulled Yang downstairs. Then, Asakawa received a call from her colleague. Before leaving work, Asakawa asked her colleague to investigate a school and got an answer. When Asakawa was about to leave Tomoko's house, she noticed several students chatting at the door and talked about the videotape. From their mouths, Asakawa was shocked to find that Tomoko had also watched the videotape. This made Asakawa more determined to explore the truth behind the videotape. After Sha Fan left Chico's house, he came to a library. After entering by himself, he found the location on the map and sacrificed it directly to obtain the information he wanted. Then he came to the news bookshelf where newspapers from previous years were stored, found the newspaper, and after sacrificing it, he checked various reports about abnormal news. After integrating the information in his mind, Sha Fan summarized several locations. He flew there without sleeping that night. Anyway, Sha Fan can go anywhere in a moment now. Sword riding is so convenient for traveling. After arriving at the place, Sha Fan called Tomomonime out again and asked her to sense the fragments. After flying to several places in a row, Tomomonime really found 3 fragments. It happened that these locations were deserted and barren. I have found 3 pieces already, and the rest will be there soon. My lord is so awesome, Tomomonime kissed Sha Fan happily. She felt more and more that her choice was right. Before, when she saw Oteimaru's defeat, she immediately chose to leave decisively, which not only avoided being accidentally killed by Sha Fan, but also successfully joined Sha Fan, a strong man. This allowed her to recover the 3 fragments so quickly. If it were Oteimaru, she would surrender to him, but who knows how he would enter the human world. Even if he entered, he would probably be thinking about how to take revenge and unify the world. Would he help her find the fragments first? It would be good enough if she didn't have to work for free first. By then, she might not even know how she died. The next day, Asakawa went to Tomoko's home again and found a receipt from a photo studio. When Asakawa got the photos from the studio, she was surprised to find that the faces of Tomoko and her companions, who watched the videotape together, were blurred and distorted in the photos. Izu. No way. Asakawa smiled and comforted himself. In the afternoon, Asakawa drove to Izu and found the holiday home where Tomoko and her friends were staying. After searching for a while, he didn't find the videotape, but he found a book. Asakawa opened it out of curiosity and saw some drawings and some words written inside. My father is fat, my mother is fat, so I am fat too. Asakawa couldn't help but smile. Hee. Asakawa was about to put down the notebook, but was suddenly shocked. Did she laugh out loud just now? No, even if she laughed out loud, why was it a man's laughter? Who is it? Hyunchuin turned around suddenly and saw a strange man leaning against the wall, looking at him with a smile. Who are you? Asakawa became a little alert. When she came in, she didn't find anyone here. And she had been looking for it here for a while. Hello, my name is Sha Fan, don't be nervous, I'm not a bad person. Sha Fan raised his hand to indicate that he was not a threat to her. Why are you here? Asakawa remained alert. I'm here to investigate a videotape. My girlfriend watched a videotape and received a strange phone call. She died suddenly 7 days later, so I want to investigate the truth. I heard that several students used to live here, and now they have died mysteriously because of watching that videotape, so I came here to see if there are any clues. I'm sorry to scare you. Sha Fan made up a very reasonable reason for his appearance. As soon as Asakawa heard it, he immediately let down his guard and felt deeply sympathetic towards Sha Fan's experience. I'm fine. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm sorry about your girlfriend. Hyunchuin didn't doubt Sha Fan's identity at all. After all, many people had died recently because of this videotape. It had even happened to her and her relatives. By the way, who are you? Sha Fan asked. I am a reporter from Tokyo TV and I am also investigating the videotape incident. Asakawa quickly introduced himself. So did you discover it? Not yet. Asakawa shook his head in disappointment. Then the two of them left temporarily and went out to eat. Asakawa invited Sha Fan to join them. During the meal, Asakawa asked some questions about Sha Fan's girlfriend. Sha Fan answered fluently and showed sadness at the same time, which made Asakawa empathize with her. After dinner, they returned to the holiday home again and found the check-in office. Asakawa took out the photo and asked about Tomoko's stay that day. On the wall to the right of the counter was a shelf with videotapes of various movies on it. Asakawa started to watch. At this time, Sha Fan noticed a familiar smell. The mental fluctuations were what he felt from the photo when he was at Tomoko's house. Then, Tomoko somehow asked the administrator for a videotape at the bottom of the shelf. This should be left by the guest, right? The administrator didn't remember having this videotape, so he could only give a vague answer. Sha Fan knew that he had found Sadako's videotape. Then, Sha Fan and Asakawa returned to the holiday house together, turned on the TV, put in the videotape, and watched it. Asakawa was a little nervous, and couldn't help but look at Sha Fan, and then he felt safe. Fortunately, there was someone to accompany me. Asakawa thought. Asakawa turned on the TV and snow appeared on the screen. All TVs of this era are like this, when there is no signal or program playing, there is a snowflake. Sha Fan rarely recalled his childhood when he had been waiting in front of the TV waiting to watch anime. Asakawa put in the videotape, then sat on the sofa, waiting for the picture to appear with Sha Fan. Asakawa became a little nervous, and his mind kept flashing with those people who died suddenly after watching the videotape. The picture of those people who kept a terrified expression after death has been lingering in Asakawa's mind. It's okay, I'm here. Sha Fan held Hyunchuin's hand and calmed her nervousness. Thank you. Asakawa not only did not withdraw her hand, but held it tighter. At this time, what she needed most was a sense of security. ZZ. The contents of the videotape appeared on the TV screen. At first, there was a black shadow, then a woman with her hair combed, a volcanic eruption, a person crawling on the ground for no reason, a man covered with a white headscarf mumbling something, and eyes with the word Gen printed on them, and a dry well. The picture ended here, and there was nothing too scary. Asakawa breathed a sigh of relief, put his mind at ease, and got up to turn off the TV. As for Sha Fan, he felt a little uncomfortable, as if a layer of fog had covered his heart. Cursed. It is said that anyone who has watched Sadako's videotape will be cursed and die after 7 days. In the last scene of the videotape they just watched, the dry well, Sadako will slowly crawl out of it within 7 days, until she finally crawls out of the TV and comes to claim her life. Sha Fan silently used a holy light spell on himself to expel the curse. But even without the holy light spell, Sha Fan could expel the curse with his own supernatural powers. Next, what Sha Fan has to do is to wait until 7 days later, waiting for Sadako to show up on her own initiative. He wants to see how powerful Sadako is. Ah, Asakawa turned back suddenly. What's wrong? Sha Fan stepped forward. I just turned off the TV and saw someone standing behind you on the screen. Qianchuan said in shock. Behind them, Sha Fan looked back and saw that there was no one else in the room except them. It must be your illusion, you saw it wrong. Sha Fan comforted. Sha Fan knew that Asakawa was also entangled by the curse, so he could see some illusions about Sadako. At this moment, the phone suddenly rang. Asakawa trembled and hid behind Sha Fan subconsciously. Asakawa clearly remembered that the students he interviewed said that after watching the videotape, there would be a call to you in the middle of the night. But when you answered the phone, there was no sound from the inside. Don't worry, I'll pick it up. Wait, don't go. Asakawa wanted to stop Sha Fan. But Sha Fan was fearless and answered the phone directly. Sure enough, no one spoke except the sound of electricity. At the same time, Sha Fan felt the curse appear again. This curse is really harmful. Sha Fan was a little surprised. After he used the holy light to expel it once, Sadako cast another curse on him. The divine power spread throughout his body, and Sha Fan's body emitted a faint fluorescence, which flashed away, and the new curse disappeared again. Asakawa saw the fluorescence, but she thought it was the same shadow of the woman she had just seen on the TV screen, and she was dazzled, so she didn't care. How is it? Asakawa asked anxiously. No one spoke. Sha Fan hung up the phone and shook his head. Are those legends true? 7 days. We only have 7 days. Let's get out of here. Asakawa took out the videotape, put it in his bag, and rushed back to Tokyo with Sha Fan overnight. Where do you live? I'll take you there. Qianchuan drove and asked Sha Fan's address. I have no place to live. Ever since my girlfriend died, I have been searching for the truth everywhere. Sha Fan shook his head. Take me to the nearest hotel, I'll stay there for the night. But, why don't you come back with me? My family is just me and my son. Qianchuan bit his lip and invited Sha Fan. Isn't this inconvenient? No, and we have all watched the videotape together. If it is true as the legend says, we only have 7 days left. We have to find out the truth within 7 days. Quote, after all, Sha Fan is now facing the same life-threatening situation as her, so it is best to act together. That disturbed. Soon, Sha Fan followed Qianchuan to her home. Her son Yangyi was already asleep at this time. Sorry, our house is a little small, so you can only sleep in the living room. Asakawa was very sorry. It's okay, I'm used to it. You should also rest early. You've been driving hard. Sha Fan took the quilt and pillow. You must have had a hard time during this period. Qianchuan couldn't help feeling a little sad when he heard what Sha Fan said. At the same time, he was a little envious of Sha Fan's girlfriend. If Sha Fan didn't love her so much, Sha Fan wouldn't have run around for the truth. On the other hand, she divorced her husband as soon as the child was born. Even her husband thought that it was a mistake for them to be together, and Yangyi shouldn't have been born. There is no such thing as hard work. It is all my responsibility. It is late. Good night. Well, good night. The next day, when Asakawa woke up, he saw Sha Fan sitting on the sofa watching the videotape. Are you up so early? Well, I couldn't sleep, so I watched it again carefully. Sha Fan turned off the TV and took out the video. So what were the findings? Yes, I have, but I need to go to the library to find some information. Let's do it together later. Qianchuan was surprised to see Sha Fan had made a discovery. Okay, Sha Fan nodded. Is this your son? A little boy came out of the room. It was Yang Yi whom Sha Fan had met at Tomoko's house that day. However, Sha Fan felt a familiar curse from Yang Yi. Sha Fan remembered that he had expelled the spiritual resentment in Tomoko's photo, but now it seemed to be useless. Sure enough, even if the holy light magic exorcises the curse once, as long as Sadako is still around, it can never be eradicated. Yes, this is my son, Yang Yi. Yang Yi, this is Uncle Sha Fan. Hello, Uncle. Yang Yi greeted politely. Hello. Yang Yi did not ask much about Sha Fan's appearance. After breakfast, he went out to school. Sha Fan, please take a photo for me. I want to verify something. Qianchuan held a camera and gave it to Sha Fan. Do you want to know if you are blurry in the photo? Sha Fan took it and said, yes. Qianchuan was not surprised why Sha Fan knew this. From the conversation during dinner yesterday, it was proved that Sha Fan had investigated more and more details than she wanted to know. This was also the reason why Qianchuan invited Sha Fan to her home. She thought that if everyone worked together and exchanged information, they might be able to know the truth faster and get rid of the crisis of death. Come. Sha Fan held up the camera and pointed it at Asakawa. Asakawa was wearing a shirt at the moment. Her figure was not that plump, but she was also very slim. Asakawa's facial features were especially good-looking, especially the beauty mole under the left corner of her eye, which made Asakawa look even more attractive. Asakawa faced the camera, with her face tilted to the side, her head slightly lowered, and she didn't look directly at the camera, giving Sha Fan a feeling of a shy girl. Hurry up and take the photo. As Asakawa, who was being watched by Sha Fan, blushed slightly, opened his red lips, his face was a little hot, and a blush appeared. Click. Sha Fan pressed the shutter. Asakawa breathed a sigh of relief, not sure whether it was because he was afraid of seeing the photo or because of Sha Fan. This is a camera that can take photos in time, so after taking it, you can get the photo immediately. Sha Fan took a look and handed it to Asakawa. After Asakawa took it, he saw that his face had indeed become blurred and distorted, just like Tomoko and the other four. Asakawa sat on the sofa in a daze, lowering his head and not saying a word. Asakawa, I have something to tell you. What's wrong? Asakawa raised his head, not knowing what was going on. You know, I went to many places to find out the truth, so now I can feel something special. For example, after we watched the videotape yesterday, I found that we had something like a curse. To read the violent novel, go to Philo Novel Network. Curse, we are cursed, so that's how it is, that's why those who watched the videotape suddenly died 7 days later. Qianchuan was shocked. He didn't doubt what Sha Fan said at all. After all, the photos were distorted, and he still talked about scientific basis. That's about it. Sha Fan nodded. But that's not the point I want to tell you. What is that? Qianchuan suddenly had a bad feeling. Yang Yi, he has something similar on him. Yang Yi, how is it possible? He hasn't seen the videotape. The premonition came true. Asakawa stood up in shock, and walked back and forth anxiously, recalling carefully. It's not that you will be cursed only after watching the videotape. Think carefully. Has Yang Yi recently been to the homes of those who died because of the videotape and seen anything there? Sha Fan reminded. Other people's homes. Asakawa grabbed her hair, her expression painful. It was fine if she watched the videotape and was cursed, but her son was not spared. This was a huge blow to Asakawa, more desperate than if she knew she might die. It's Tomoko. Tomoko. Yes, Tomoko is Yoichi's cousin. The day before yesterday, I took Yoichi to Tomoko's funeral. Yoichi walked into Tomoko's room and saw her photo. I also learned from Tomoko's classmates that Tomoko had also watched the videotape. They watched it at the holiday home we went to together. As Asakawa said this, he collapsed on the sofa, bent over, covered his face and cried. Woo woo woo. What to do? Yang Yi. Asakawa was about to collapse from the torture of this horrific videotape incident. If she had known earlier, she would not have come to investigate this matter. But then she thought, even if she did not investigate, she would still take Yoichi to attend Tomoko's funeral. Then, wouldn't Yoichi still not be spared? What should she do? Don't cry, we still have time. As long as we find the truth, can't we break the curse? By then, Yang Yi will be fine. Sha Fan sat next to Asakawa and hugged her to comfort her. Asakawa couldn't help but lean on Sha-Fan's arms. After feeling the warmth from Sha-Fan, Asakawa gradually calmed down. Don't worry, I will help you. We will succeed if we work together. You are Yang Yi's mother, so you must not fall first. Sha-Fan lifted Asakawa's face, wiped the tears from her face, and cheered her up. Yeah, I will. Thank you, Sha-Fan. Qianchuan nodded, and her depressed mood slowly recovered. Qianchuan looked at Sha-Fan's face and thought that this man was so handsome, with a strong chest, and spoke so gently. She suddenly wanted to be held in Sha-Fan's arms again, feeling the gentleness and affection. What's wrong? Sha-Fan looked at Qianchuan in confusion. He didn't understand why she suddenly stared at him without moving. Then, Asakawa suddenly stood up, sat on Sha-Fan's lap, hugged Sha-Fan's face and kissed him. Asakawa thought, since both he and Sha-Fan might die, what was the point of this? Is it necessary to have a psychological burden? She lives alone, and Sha-Fan is also single. Moreover, she hasn't had a deep communication with a man for a long time. Under all kinds of pressure and fear, Qianchuan used Sha-Fan as a vent for himself. The sky was gray and heavy rain was pouring outside the balcony. The air was filled with moisture and heat. Sha-Fan and Qianchuan lay on the sofa together, quietly listening to the sound of rain outside. I'm sorry, I was impulsive and let you down. Please don't take what happened today to heart. Asakawa spoke slowly, without any thought of letting Sha-Fan be responsible for her. Quote. Sha-Fan was silent for a while. It seemed that because of his excellent performance, Asakawa was really immersed in Sha-Fan's character. I don't think she would mind. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have met you. Perhaps this is fate, Sha-Fan said with emotion. If only I could have met you earlier. Asakawa closed his eyes and whispered softly. It's not too late. Before she knew it, Asakawa fell asleep. When she woke up, she saw only a note on the table. I'm going to the library. I'll come back and tell you when I find the news. Don't worry. It was a message from Sha-Fan. Qianchuan laughed and got up and went to the bathroom. In the library, Sha-Fan looked for newspapers with news about the volcanic eruption. Sigh, I don't know what's going on now, people are stealing newspapers. The librarian who was sorting the newspapers complained to Sha-Fan. What happened? Sha-Fan asked. The night before yesterday, the library was robbed. Some maps and old newspapers were all gone. This thief is really something. If he wants to read it, why not just come to the library and read it directly? The administrator shook his head and said to himself. When Sha-Fan heard it, wasn't this talking about him? But it doesn't matter. Sha-Fan remembered that there was news about Sadako on an island. 40 years ago, a woman with special abilities spread on an island. She predicted the time of a volcanic eruption, which attracted media reports and the attention of a doctor. The woman's name was Shizuko. After meeting Dr. Ikuma Haihachiro, she got married. However, due to the media's sarcasm and ridicule, and the death of a person in an experiment, she was regarded as a monster. In the end, Shizuko committed suicide after going crazy, and Ikuma Haihachiro also disappeared. Only a daughter named Sadako was left. But only Shizuko and Ikuma Haihachiro knew that their daughter Sadako had more powerful superpowers than Shizuko, and could even kill people with her mind. The reason why Sadako became a vengeful spirit, became a curse, and began to kill people, it was because Ikuma Haihachiro was afraid and terrified of Sadako's abilities that he killed his own daughter with his own hands and threw her into a well. Since then, the dead Sadako, relying on her powerful spiritual power and other superpowers, has turned into a vengeful spirit, engraved parts of her life into a videotape, and cursed everyone who has watched the videotape. This is the truth about Sadako. Sha-Fan wrote down the location of Oshima in a notebook so that he could take it back for Asakawa to take a look. Now there are still 6 days left before the 7-day deadline. Sha-Fan walked out of the library, and it was still raining heavily outside. Sha-Fan thought about it, and activated the power of ghosts and gods controlling the celestial phenomena, bringing the wind, blowing away the dark clouds, and ending the rain that had been going on for most of the day. Afterwards, Sha-Fan returned to Asakawa's home. However, he met a woman on the street not far from Asakawa's home. The woman walked up to Sha-Fan and asked him a question. Do I look good? The streets, which had just stopped raining heavily, were still wet, but felt cool in the wind. It was around 4 in the afternoon, and there were not many pedestrians. At a glance, there was only Sha Fan and the woman who suddenly stopped him. The woman was holding an umbrella in her right hand, wearing a white windbreaker, carrying a bag, wearing a scarf, holding a pair of scissors in her left hand, with long hair and a mask. She looked at Sha Fan. Do I look good? Why does this scene feel familiar? Slit-mouthed woman. It can't be such a coincidence, right? Sha Fan was surprised. He didn't expect that he was so lucky that he would actually meet the monster circulated in urban legends. Slit-mouthed woman. It is said that some children who are going home from school will meet a woman wearing a mask on the road, asking them whether they are beautiful. If the answer is beautiful, she will take off the mask and ask again, what about this? If the child answers that he is not beautiful, she will kill the child with a sickle or scissors. If the answer is beautiful, she will cut the child's mouth and make him as beautiful as herself. It is said that because this legend is too terrifying, the place where the most violent incidents occurred was forced to suspend school. Sha Fan thought that all the monsters were banished to that island by unknown people, but he didn't expect that there were still monsters like urban legends that survived. Do I look good? Since Sha Fan did not answer, the slit-mouthed woman's tone became more urgent. It looks good. Sha Fan nodded. The slit-mouthed woman was satisfied with the answer and took off her mask. What about this? She asked again. The woman who took off the mask revealed her special face. A line similar to a scar extended from both sides of the woman's lips directly to the ear. If you say it's ugly, Sha Fan has seen a lot of it in the world of Resident Evil, so he is basically immune. If you say it's not ugly, ordinary people will definitely be scared after seeing it. The woman with the slit clenched the scissors in her hand and waited for Sha Fan's answer. Very beautiful, Sha Fan replied. Then, I will make you as beautiful as me, okay? The slit-mouthed woman laughed and was about to take out the scissors to give Sha Fan a plastic surgery. Unexpectedly, as soon as she finished speaking, Sha Fan took a step, came to her, held her face, and kissed her. Quote? Quote. The slit-mouthed woman was stunned, her eyes widened, she stood there blankly, and even dropped the scissors in her hand. She had lived for so long, and had asked countless people, and their answers were nothing more than two, beautiful, not beautiful. Then, according to their answers, she would either kill them or change their faces to look like hers. However, she would never encounter someone who would kiss her. Sha Fan's set of actions directly made the slit-mouthed woman lose her mind. Believe me, you are the most beautiful, Sha Fan said, and left immediately. The slit-mouthed woman continued to stand there blankly. Rarely, she blushed. Ying ying ying. The slit-mouthed woman held her face, smiled shyly, and even jumped on the spot for joy. After a while, she suddenly reacted. Where is he? The slit-mouthed woman quickly put on a mask and chased in the direction where Sha Fan left, not even picking up the scissors on the ground. She could smell the delicious aroma on Sha Fan's body, and she was not worried at all that she would not be able to find the man who gave her the first unique feeling. Sha Fan returned to Asakawa's home, and Asakawa was already preparing dinner. Preparing so early? Yes, I went to buy some vegetables. Kyeonchuan smiled embarrassedly. In fact, Kyeonchuan felt that there was one more person living in the house and they had love again, so he was a little happy and wanted to make some delicious food for Sha Fan. Did you find anything today? After a while, Asakawa prepared the dishes first and waited for Yongyi to come back before cooking. After washing his hands, he sat next to Sha Fan and leaned against each other intimately. Sha Fan reached out and hugged Asakawa, while handing her the notebook to read. Last night, I couldn't sleep, so I watched the video again and noticed the news about the volcanic eruption and what the man in the white turban said. I went to the library and searched through newspapers from previous years, and finally found the same news report as the one in the picture. The volcanic eruption took place on the Big Island, and the man spoke the dialect of the island. Sha Fan told Kyeonchuan about his discovery. Are we going to this island? What did the man say? Asakawa asked as he looked at his notes. The sound is like playing in the water, and the dead is a monster. What does this mean? I don't know, so we have to go to the island to find out the details. I understand. Asakawa nodded in agreement. Can you go? It doesn't matter if you can't go. I'll go there and investigate and tell you. No, I can go with you. As for Yang Yi, I will send him to my father-in-law's house in the countryside and let him take care of him for a few days. Qianquan made a decision. Okay, I'll go with you tomorrow. Sha Fan, thank you, I'm glad you're here. After the two of them had an intimate exchange, Qianquan was already used to leaning on Sha Fan's arms. We are now in the same boat, and no matter what, these are things I should do. Sha Fan did not take credit. The two of them stayed on the sofa for a while, and soon it was past 5 o'clock, and Yang Yi also came back. Asakawa went to the kitchen to prepare meals. While eating, Asakawa told Yang Yi that he would send him to see his grandfather tomorrow, and Yang Yi was very happy. In the evening, Sha Fan came out of the shower and lay on the sofa, thinking about where the remaining fragments of Tomomonime would be. Before he left this world, it would be best if he could find all the fragments, so that Tomomonime would follow him without worries. If it really doesn't work, he would have to find a few more pieces. When he leaves, he will wait until the new world opens, and then bring Tomomonime back. Speaking of which, Sha Fan has traveled through time several times and has obtained the free entry and exit rights of the previous world, but Sha Fan has never been back once, and he doesn't know where the progress of other worlds is now. Especially the first world of Resident Evil, wouldn't Sha Fan go in one day and end up there? Sha Fan closed his eyes and thought about things, and suddenly there was a sound of opening the door, and a pair of footsteps came quietly. Sha Fan opened his eyes and saw Asakawa squatting beside him in a suspender pajamas. What's wrong? Shish. Asakawa raised his finger. Do you want to sleep in my room? It's not comfortable to sleep on the sofa, right? Asakawa said in a low voice, with a shy tone. May I? Yes. Asakawa stood up, his smooth feet happily stepped across the floor. Sha Fan followed him in without hesitation and closed the door. Because of Sha Fan's operation during the day, the dark clouds dissipated and the heavy rain stopped, so the moon tonight was very bright. A woman squatted quietly on the roof, listening to the suppressed breathing coming from the room below, her face hot. She was the slit-mouthed woman, who smelled the fragrance of Sha Fan all the way and found this place. However, because Sha Fan was always in the house, the slit-mouthed woman did not find a good opportunity to meet Sha Fan alone again. She could only hide on the roof and eavesdrop like now. She felt her heart ripple with spring water and couldn't bear it. Sha Fan had sensed that there were monsters peeping at him, but because she was a slit-mouthed woman, Sha Fan had not figured out what to do. Although he had collected several monsters and placed them in the small world, they were all either naturally beautiful, or had foul figures, or were charming and passionate, which the slit-mouthed woman could not compare to. So Sha Fan ignored her. If it didn't work, he would just beat them up. The next morning, Asakawa and Sha Fan drove and took Yang Yi to the countryside. After arriving, Asakawa didn't say much, but just said that because of work, he couldn't take care of Yang Yi, so he asked Yang Yi to stay here for a few days and pick him up later. At the same time, he introduced Sha Fan to Yang Yi's grandfather as a colleague. They will stay here for one night today. After all, the journey back and forth is really far. Yang Yi happily went to the river to catch fish with his grandfather, which really made Asakawa relieved. There are still 5 days, enough for them to go to the big island. Sha Fan wandered around the village to see if there was anything unusual nearby, so he could try his luck and find new fragments of Tomomonime. However, after asking around, he didn't find out about the unusual place, but he did find out about other things. The villagers here said that there was a monster here named Hachisha-sama, who loved to confuse lost children and then take them away to eat. It was also said that a few decades ago, a Jizo temple used to seal Hachisha-sama was destroyed, allowing Hachisha-sama to escape again and began to harm people. Is it true that there are children missing in your village and being captured and eaten by monsters? Sha Fan was a little skeptical. How come there aren't any? Several of them have gone missing in the past 10 years. It must have been eaten by Hachishiku-sama. The villagers spoke in a serious tone, which made Sha Fan curious. Hachishiku-sama. This is a monster bigger than a 36D. If it really exists, Sha Fan must see it for himself. Where is the Saitagarbha temple you just mentioned? To read the best novels, go to Falu Novel Network. Do you see that mountain? Follow the road behind the village and keep going up, and you will see it. But young man, what are you doing there? But it's okay. Master Hachishiku likes to eat children, so he won't be interested in you. Quote, quote. Thank you so much. Sha Fan was speechless. By the way, you know the Asakawa family, right? I know, what's wrong? Oh, I am a colleague of Asakawa's daughter. If she comes to see me, could you please tell her that I will be back later? Okay, I got it. You should pay more attention to safety. The mountain road is not easy to walk on. The old man agreed immediately and kindly told Sha Fan. I will. Goodbye. Sha Fan waved and walked towards the mountain behind the village. As the sky gradually darkened, Asakawa really came out to look for Sha Fan. Oh, you mean that young man? After hearing that there are monsters here, he went to the Jizo temple on the mountain behind the village and asked us to tell you that he will be back later. Qianchuan met an old man who was about to go home and received a message from Sha Fan. Went to Jizo temple, looking for monsters. Asakawa was a little confused and walked back. Asakawa had heard about the monster legends in this village, and he also had some understanding of Hachisha-sama, but most of them were used by adults to scare children so that they would not run around. However, Asakawa thought that Sha Fan was just trying to relax, so he was interested in this matter. Sha Fan walked out of the village, past a large area of farmland, and came to the foot of the mountain. The road was easy to walk on at the beginning, but gradually it became more and more rugged and steep. Suddenly Sha Fan stopped and turned around. Come out, you have been following me for so long. The leaves shook, and a woman came out. It was the slit-mouthed woman who had followed Sha Fan all the way from Tokyo to the countryside. Why are you following me? Sha Fan said helplessly. I like you. The slit-mouthed woman actually acted like a little girl, pinching her fingers, lowering her head, and shyly answered Sha Fan's question. Quote, quote. So, the slit-mouthed woman was sealed in love by his kiss. She was willing to go through so much trouble to follow him. She's very persistent. Sha Fan touched his chin and thought carefully. Didn't you say I'm pretty? And you kissed me. The slit-mouthed woman held her face in her hands, swaying her body slightly from side to side. When Sha Fan heard this, he was shocked. This guy is asking him to take responsibility. Who would have thought that the slit-mouthed woman was actually a nymphomaniac? Hasn't anyone ever kissed you before? No, I see. Sha Fan thought so too. She would be too scared to kiss you. So, should I take her in? Wait, don't I still have the blood of ghosts? If Xiao Shuang took it, she could directly evolve from a cat-eared loli to a cat-eared queen. If the slit-mouthed woman took it, the effect should be similar, right? Anyway, it has the effects of beautifying, evolving, improving, and even breast enhancement. Okay, Sha Fan agreed, and then raised his hand, about to give a drop of his own blood to the slit-mouthed woman, but suddenly stopped. Oh, I almost forgot, I'm here to see Hachishiku-sama. His blood can't be taken out casually, it's too deadly to monsters and other supernatural creatures. You go in and stay for a while. Sha Fan took the slit-mouthed woman into the small world. Snow Girl, help me take care of her, don't let Alicia bully her. Sha Fan's voice rang out in the small world. Yes, sir. The Snow Girl agreed obediently. Brother Sha Fan, aren't you going to take me out? Xiao Shuang has been waiting in the small world for 2 or 3 days and is very bored. I have something to do now. I'll take you out to play later. Okay, meow. Brother Sha Fan, what about me? I want to go out too. I want to grow up too. Alessa shouted at the top. But she didn't get a reply from Sha Fan. Ah, I'm so angry. Alessa was so angry. And what do you mean by don't let Alessa bully you? Is she that kind of person? New here, what's your name? Take off your mask and let me see. Alyssa, you and Xiaoshuang go out and play. The Snow Girl smiled gently. See, what Sha Fan said was right, you are the only one who bullies others. By the way, Master Hachiku seems to only like children. Sha Fan was about to move on when he suddenly remembered Master Hachiku's preferences. Got it. Thousands of changes. Sha Fan almost forgot that he had such a new magical power. Sha Fan immediately activated the thousands of changes and turned himself into a 13 or 14-year-old boy with black hair and black pupils. Then he found the Saitagarba temple. At this time, the Saitagarba temple had been overgrown with weeds and dust because no one came to worship. Also, because no one had repaired it for many years. More than half of the roof had collapsed. Sha Fan sat on the stone and carefully cut a wound on his finger, revealing a trace of blood. Suddenly, the air was filled with a refreshing fragrance. The wound on the finger healed almost immediately, leaving only a trace of crimson on the skin. Sha Fan sat quietly on the stone and waited. Wait until it was dark, wait until the stars and the moon rose, wait until the lights of the thousands of houses in the village below were lit. Sha Fan did not wait for the so-called 8-foot master to show up. It's actually just a legend. I thought that if there was a slit-mouthed woman, there would be Hachishikusama. My expectation was in vain. Sha Fan was speechless. He was really bewitched by Hachishikusama and his mind was not clear. He actually believed what the villagers said. Sha Fan stood up and was about to leave. Then, after taking a few steps, he suddenly heard a strange sound of popopo. He turned around and finally saw a touch of white among the leaves. A woman with a height of 2.45 meters, wearing a white wide-brimmed hat, a dress, and an extremely plump figure, slowly walked out. It's Hachishiku-sama. Well, Hachisha-sama is a widely circulated urban legend that mostly appears in rural villages. She is a plump and tall female monster who makes a strange popopo laugh. She can also imitate the voices of others to make the victim relax his vigilance. People who are bewitched by Hachisha-sama will die within a few days. Children are usually the most easily bewitched. Hachisha-sama likes to attack children and does not disturb adult prey, but she has the power to kill adult prey directly. Hachisha-sama often appears in deserted streets, forests, ruins or villages, where she can look for her prey. Moreover, she has many abilities, such as teleportation and flight, changing her appearance and imitating various sounds, controlling thoughts, memories and mental attacks. Choose visibility so that different prey can see her under different conditions. She can interfere with or control electronic equipment and manipulate hair like Sadako and Kayako. Confuse prey to create various curses, such as amputation, burns, hunger, poisoning, disease, electric shock, car accidents, explosions, etc. Therefore Hachishiku-sama is a very powerful monster. Since the appearance of the 8-foot master, Sha Fan's eyes have been brightened. At the same time, Sha Fan is very satisfied with the figure and appearance of the 8-foot master. Isn't this what he wants? Are you lost? Do you want to go home with your sister? Okay, Sha Fan nodded repeatedly. Quote. Master Bashi was stunned for a moment when he readily agreed to Sha Fan's request. Was he so proactive? Didn't she need to confuse him anymore? But she didn't think much about it. She took Sha Fan's hand and led him into the mountains. Along the way, Master Bashi continued to make popopo sounds, leading Sha Fan to walk in the mountains as if walking on flat ground, and walked faster and faster, even leaving the ground and floating up. Sha Fan did not show any fear or doubt, but just held Master Bashi's hand calmly. Master Bashi's hand was soft and warm, but it was a bit too big for him now. Even if Sha Fan returned to his original appearance, his height of more than 1.8 meters was still a head shorter than Master Bashi's height of 2.45 meters. But it didn't matter. Soon, Master Bashi led Sha Fan through the dark forest and came to a cave. The cave was surrounded by towering trees, which looked like they had lived for a long time, and the ground was covered with unknown plants half a person's height, and the leaves looked a bit like lotus leaves. There were unknown vines entwined around the entrance of the cave, and there was a big stone blocking it. Not to mention that basically no one would set foot here, even the villagers living at the foot of the mountain would not come here for no reason. After all, no one knew whether they would encounter dangerous wild animals. Even if someone was really not afraid of death and came here, they would not find the location of this cave at the first time, because it was really hidden too well and extremely hidden. If they saw it, they would only treat it as a huge stone, and would not think that there was another cave behind it. Yes, when Master Bashi used a power similar to telekinesis to easily move the huge stone and cross a dark passage, Sha Fan came to a very large space. The space from the ground to the top of the cave was 4 or 5 meters away, enough for Master Bashi to stretch his body without hitting his head. The cave was very comfortable and filled with a woman's fragrance. The ground was covered with a layer of furry fur of an unknown animal as a carpet. Candles were lit on the wall, and the candlelight was bright and not dazzling. There was also a hammock made of vines at the innermost part, which could be seen to withstand the weight of Master Bashi. The whole cave gave Sha Fan the feeling that he had come to a medieval witch's cave. But this place was definitely brighter and cleaner than the witch's cave. This monster is quite good at living. Sha Fan sighed. Putting aside her identity as a monster, she is just a homebody. Suddenly, Sha Fan noticed a 5 or 6 layer cabinet embedded on one wall. Something was placed on it. Skulls. Looking closely, they turned out to be skulls. Judging from the size of the skulls and Hachishiku-sama's preference, we can tell who they belong to. You must be hungry, eat something. Lord Bashi came over with a plate of fruit and pulled Sha Fan to sit down at a big table. Sha Fan obeyed and picked up a piece of fruit to eat. Speaking of which, he hadn't eaten dinner yet, although he didn't need to eat now. Lord Bashi sat opposite Sha Fan, his elbows resting on his thighs, his chin in his hands, looking at Sha Fan with a smile on his face. Eat some more. After eating several fruits in a row, Sha Fan couldn't eat any more. Eating too much would make him go to the toilet easily. Are you tired? Are you going to sleep? Hachishiku-sama said gently. Yeah, I'm sleepy. Sha Fan nodded and agreed to her words. He wanted to see what Master Bashi was going to do. Come, I'll hold you. Lady Bashi opened her arms. Is there such a good thing? Sha Fan walked over silently, fell into her arms, leaned on the cotton candy-like softness, and closed his eyes. Lady Bashi held Sha Fan, patted his back gently, and rocked him. For a long time, Sha Fan pretended that he was already in a deep sleep. Now, Lady Bashi took action. She began to take off Sha Fan's clothes. Quote? Sha Fan was stunned. Could it be that he met the Hachishiku-sama in the book? This was a bit disgusting. Originally, Sha Fan wanted to collect her. If it was the Hachishiku-sama in the book, he would have to break it up. But Sha Fan found out that he was wrong. Hachishiku-sama took off his clothes to make it easier to eat him. Just like when you eat fruit, you need to peel it. Hachishiku-sama is very particular. Hachishiku-sama smiled, turned Sha Fan's head to the side, revealing his white neck, and then opened his mouth. It seemed that all monsters have fangs, and Hachishiku-sama is no exception. She opened her mouth, showing her fangs, and bit towards Sha Fan's neck. Suddenly, a hand stretched out, grabbed Hachishiku-sama's throat, and stopped her action. Why are you so anxious? Have you been hungry for a long time? Sha Fan opened his eyes, exerted force with his right hand, and threw 8-foot Lord against the wall. After a bang, 8-foot Lord reacted, with his teeth and claws bared, and the hair behind him spread and danced like a spider web. Since Sha Fan woke up, he had to use force. Whoosh! The long hair shot out and entangled Sha Fan. Sha Fan was unmoved, standing naked on the table, pointing at 8-foot Lord. Suddenly, the surging divine power directly scattered the hair and hit 8-foot Lord's stomach, causing her to kneel down in pain. However, 8-foot Lord was obviously the kind of monster who didn't like to give up. He raised his hand and aimed at Sha Fan. Sha Fan heard a buzzing sound around him, turned his head and found that the stone benches on the ground, other tables and chairs, etc., all flew up and floated in the air. The table under Sha Fan's feet was also driven by 8-foot Lord's telekinesis, but with Sha Fan standing on it, 8-foot Lord couldn't shake it at all. Stop! The voice was mixed with divine power and suddenly exploded in the ears of Hachi-sama, making her dizzy and losing control of her telekinesis. The furniture and furnishings around her fell to the ground with a bang. Who are you? After shaking her head, Hachisha finally regained some consciousness. She finally stopped attacking and started asking questions. Because Hachisha found that she couldn't beat this kid at all. Too strong. Hachisha finally realized that this person was brought back by her on purpose. He was pretending to sleep. He was just waiting for her to attack. Just like those annoying monks. Hachisha couldn't help but feel resentful. Don't worry about who I am, I'm here to find you. Sha Fan looked at Master Ba Kai, no longer hiding his power of ghosts and gods, and released the second power of ghosts and gods, the King of 100 Demons, the power of gods. The King of 100 Demons commands the demon clan, a natural king. The power of gods, the power of ghosts and gods, overwhelms all living beings. Master, Master, Master Hachi was pressed to the ground by Sha Fan's powerful pressure, trembling with fear. This is the legendary Demon King. The Demon King. Master Hachi shouted in fear in her heart. She was just a little demon, why did she provoke such a terrifying existence? She cried out in grievance. Ah, the effect is so good. This is the first time he has released the power of the gods on a monster, and the result is that he frightened Master Hachi to tears. Okay, Sha Fan put away his power. Get up, Sha Fan ordered. Hachi-sama got up from the ground tremblingly. Fortunately, the floor was covered with carpet, so Hachi-sama's white dress was not soiled. You wanted to eat me just now, didn't you? Yes, Hachishiku-sama replied weakly. That, Sha Fan pointed at the 8-foot lady and used the Thunder God clothing technique that Zeus used on the Thunder God. It is reasonable for me to eat you. Master Hachi. She blushed and said, I will listen to you, Master. That night, Sha Fan experienced the feeling of a small horse pulling a big cart in the depth of the sea. But he seemed to have forgotten one thing, that is Qianchuan. Qianchuan waited for Sha Fan to come back at home. To read the exciting novel, go to Philo Novel Network. Dad, could Sha Fan have gotten lost in the mountains? Qianchuan was a little worried. That shouldn't be the case. The Sadako temple is halfway up the mountain. Even if he didn't find it, he could still see our village from the mountain. He didn't go deep into the mountains behind the mountain. Qianchuan's father was a little confused. Was he delayed by other things? What should we do? What if he gets into danger or gets hurt? Asakawa was a little anxious. Why are you so worried about him? Do you like him? Father Asakawa suddenly looked at his daughter. Dad, what are you talking about? Qianchuan blushed. What's the big deal? You've been single for a long time, so if you meet someone suitable, don't hesitate. Let's talk about it later. These words touched Asakawa's heart, but now the matter of the videotape has been weighing heavily on her mind, making her dare not imagine the future. Dad, how about I go find Sha Fan? As Asakawa said this, he wanted to go up the mountain. Don't go. Wait till tonight. If he still hasn't come back tomorrow morning, I'll ask the villagers to go look for him together. How could such a grown-up person really get lost in this small mountain? Go to sleep quickly. Qianchuan's father directly rejected Qianchuan's idea. After all, Sha Fan is already a grown-up. Moreover, what era is this? It is not the era of inconvenient transportation in the past. The main thing is that this mountain is really not big, and the Sadako temple is really not far away. The premise is that you don't go to the deep mountains behind the mountain. Okay, I'll go to bed first. Asakawa nodded and went back to the room. Yoichi fell asleep on the floor while watching TV, and Asakawa carried Yoichi back to the quilt. In the middle of the night, Asakawa heard a sound and got up in a daze. At this moment, Asakawa vaguely saw a picture of the man wearing a white headscarf, standing on the beach, speaking in dialect. She had hallucinations. Yongyi. Asakawa turned her head, but found that Yongyi, who was sleeping next to her, was gone. She crawled and opened the door of the next room. In the room, Yongyi was sitting in front of the TV, which was playing the contents of the videotape. Yongyi, what are you doing? Asakawa's eyes went dark and he almost fainted. Yongyi actually watched this videotape. Asakawa pulled himself together, turned off the TV immediately, took out the videotape, and hugged Yongyi, not knowing what to do. Why are you watching this videotape? It was Tomoko. Tomoko asked me to look at it. Yongyi replied stupidly. Tomoko. Asakawa then remembered what Sha Fan had said to her, that Yoichi was cursed. It was because Yoichi had been to Tomoko's room and seen her photo. Asakawa regretted and blamed herself. She regretted why she didn't take a good look at Yoichi and why she kept the videotape with her. As a result, not only she was facing the curse, but Yoichi was also not immune. If she and Sha Fan went to Oshima this time and couldn't find the truth, they would all die. Sha Fan, where are you? Please come back soon. Qianchuan cried and called Sha Fan's name. For her, the only person she could rely on was Sha Fan, who had watched the video with her. The next day, at dawn, Sha Fan finally came back. He had fought all night and finally filled Hachisha-sama's puffs. It was very hard. But fortunately, Sha Fan was not an ordinary person and could still bear it. He even said that it would be no problem even if he beat 10 of them. Fan had just opened the door, thinking about coming out early after Asakawa woke up, but Asakawa, who heard the noise, ran out directly, threw himself into Fan's arms, and started crying. Where have you been? Woohoo! What's wrong? What happened? Fan was a little confused. It was just one night. Could it be that Sadako had already climbed out of the well? But wasn't Asakawa still alive and well? It's Yi. He watched that video last night. Asakawa broke down and cried. So that's how it was. Fan immediately understood. Don't worry, I will save you and Yi. Believe me, I will never let anything happen to you. Fan said seriously. Fan. Kianchuan hugged Fan tightly, as if this could dispel the uneasiness in his heart. It's fine. Ahem. Asakawa's father got up early, and when he came out, he saw Asakawa and this so-called colleague hugging each other tightly. Good fellow, it turns out that you two have been in a relationship for a long time. It's a pity that you denied it in front of me last night. Dad, you're up. Asakawa stepped back quickly, tidied his clothes and hair. Well, this kid is back, you should be relieved. Kianchuan's father did not tease his daughter. After all, it is difficult for a woman with a child to find a suitable partner. Especially for a young and handsome guy like Fan, he is even more scarce. I just hope that this kid is not just playing around and deceiving Kianchuan. Boy, where did you go last night? Did you get lost or hurt? Did you know that Asakawa was so worried about you that he almost went up the mountain to look for you? Dad, Asakawa held his father back to stop him from talking nonsense. I'm sorry, it was a little late when we were going down the mountain. When we passed by Mr. Murata's house, he saw that it was so late and was afraid that I was in danger, so he asked me to stay overnight. I should have come back earlier. Fan looked at Kianchuan and said. It's okay, I'm glad you're back, I'll go prepare breakfast. Kianchuan felt embarrassed when Fan looked at him, and left quickly. No wonder, this old man Murata didn't even call me, causing us to worry all night in vain. Asakawa's father nodded. He knew that Fan would not get lost in the mountains. But in fact, Fan was indeed lost. Well, he was confused by Hachiyama and forgot the way back. In the morning, Asakawa gave some instructions to Yi, asking him to listen to his grandfather, then said goodbye to them and drove away with Fan. They were going to Oshima to find out the truth. The two bought tickets and boarded a ship. Asakawa stood on the deck, looking at the sea, silently lost in thought. We're almost there. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.